Today, I'm going to be talking about how to make a super fun quilt.
I'm going to show you how you can make this adorable ring bearer pillow in your wedding colors.
I feel grateful to know so many wonderful people and wonderful quilters.
Welcome to Spring Fling, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. It is so great to be here. We are so excited for this Spring Fling event. We have been looking forward to this. This is my favorite thing to do on spring break, and that is to come and spend a couple of days with you all. We are so excited. We have so much planned for today. We can't wait to share with you, connect with you all around our favorite thing, quilting. So I am Kena Dorsey. I am one of the ambassadors for Grace Company, and it's such an honor and a pleasure to return and to spend this time with you. I am coming to you from sunny California, from Palmdale, California, and the weather is beautiful. It's not too hot. It's actually a little windy, but there is plenty of sun. Where are you all spending your time? Where are you now? What are you doing for spring break? We'd love to hear where you're coming from, and we just welcome everyone from all parts of the country, inside, outside of the US. We are all one big family here. So we have people, wow, shout outs to Illinois. We have Kansas in the house. We have Arizona in the house, not too far from me. Texas is here. Hello, Texas. Howdy. How are you? We have North Carolina, all the way opposite from where I am, but yet we're here at the same time. Hello, Chris, and welcome. Hello from Alabama, Janice. Thank you for joining us today. Pennsylvania, Eagleville. Thank you for joining us, Astrid. I am originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So you are coming from my neck of the woods, Arizona, Louisiana. Wow, the Bahamas, Long Island, the Bahamas. Welcome. How are you? Welcome, welcome. And New York, just everywhere. It's just wonderful to see so many people here in Georgia. Hello, welcome, Judy from Georgia. It's just an honor and a pleasure that we can all be here from all necks of the woods, sharing in something that we love. So during this time of year, and you all keep putting in where you're from, we want to hear from you. Keep dropping them in the chat. But during this time of year, this is my official spring break. And so what are some of the things that you all are working on this time of year? What quilt projects do you have going on? I know for me, it's more of an organization time this year. Sometimes I get a chance to finish up projects, which I did. I recently got a chance to finish piecing this quilt behind me. It's not quilted yet. I can't wait to put it on my long arm and start quilting it, but it's pieced. And then I'm just organizing, doing lots of organization in my sewing room and, folding fabrics and reorganizing my stash. So what are you guys doing? So Quilts of Valor donations. That is fantastic. What a wonderful use of your spring break. Making quilts for all of my kids. 4 of them. Wow. I hope they're like throws or wall hangings. 4 quilts. I love, someone says, working on my new long arm shop entrepreneur. Okay, Miss Willow Tree Long Arm. That is fantastic. Congratulations, and how exciting. Working on a quilt I started 3 years ago. Looky here, Lana. There is no time limit for how long it takes. Just finish it. And let's see, learning how to use my new long arm. Fantastic. And guess what? We're going to have lots of tips and information on long arms and getting together with other people. I know when I transitioned from domestic machine to long arm, I needed help, and there were certain things that I didn't know, but that's what we do so well here at Grace. So, all right, we are here at Grace Spring Fling. Now, those of you, we have some familiar faces. I see you in the chats. It's so great to see you. But I must say, there are some new friends. So you oldies but goodies have been doing a great job spreading the word and telling your fellow friends about us. So, Spring Fling. Spring Fling is basically an event where we have projects, we share demos, promotions, we have community events, we have giveaways and promotional events, and most importantly, we share connections with our old familiar friends, and we make new friends, and we have a little fun in between. So welcome. It's a 2-day event. It's free. It's online. There's going to be lots of great segments today and tomorrow, packed with projects that you'll be able to continue working on throughout spring and throughout the summer, throughout the years, and hey, maybe 30 years, but hopefully we like to do projects that you'll finish relatively quickly. But that's what we are going to do at Spring Fling today, and we're just so excited. We can't wait to share with you all the goodies we have in store. Now, we have a special theme. Every year we are theme based, and this year's theme, oh my God, I just love this theme. It is called The Life of a Quilt. I absolutely love this because we are celebrating the creativity in all of us. Now, the whole thought and concept behind the theme is that we're focusing on the various stages of life and how quilting can play a role in where we are. And all of the projects in the quilt show categories have been divided into those 6 stages of life categories. So the quilt categories are sweet beginnings, school days, courtship, work-life balance. Lord, I struggle with that. Oh, that is so true. Anyway, remembrance, and then of course everything in between. So I just love that theme because the life of a quilt as quilters reflects what we're doing, right? When we're having a new baby, we're going to make baby quilts. When we're, school days, we might want to make T-shirt quilts for memory, wedding quilts, graduation quilts, so on and so forth. However, and so that you must get over to the quilt show and check out some of the wonderful quilts and how they relate to the life of the quilt. Okay, so now I am going to share just a few announcements before we get started. A little housekeeping, so to speak, because we are online and we want to make sure everyone has the same information. So, all right, like I said, going over to the quilt show. Check out all the quilts, all the categories. These are quilts for those who are new, that people who have submitted. Now, The registration to submit is over, but if you didn't next time, and don't be scared, don't be shy, anybody, any skill set, anyone can join. If you go to the Grace Spring Fling platform and you click on Quilt Show, you'll also see all the quilts in all the categories, and you'll get a chance to meet the judges, because who are these people making these choices, right? So you get to learn a little bit about them. All right, so now we're online and we have to discuss scammers. We want you all to watch out for scammers. There are always scammers walking through social media and on email, and they're trying to get your information. Let me tell you, Grace will never ask for your personal information over social media. Um, if something feels like a scam, or it feels like it's probably too good to be true, it probably is. So just call us to confirm or email us if it's legitimate. We will let you know. But we work hard to make sure, scammers are not coming from any of our platforms. So if you see them, they're not from us. Okay. Speaking of social media, we would love for you to follow us on the many social media platforms and channels that we have. That's where you can engage with us. You can follow us on Facebook. We're at Grace Company Quilting, on Instagram at Grace Company Quilting, on TikTok at Grace Company, on YouTube at The Grace Company, Pinterest at Grace Company Quilting. So go ahead and give us a like, share, follow. This is how you will know when these registrations, when these events are coming up. You'll be the first to know. You can pre-register for the giveaways and for the quilt shows and know when we're doing community events. All right. Oh, and also, if you would like to know a little bit about me, you can also follow me on social media. I am on Instagram at Kena Quilts, and also on Facebook at Kena Quilts. And then many times you'll see me on my social media, maybe quilting and doing things with my Grace long arm machine and other products that I just absolutely love to use in my work. All right, so who are we kidding? We're going to see lots of cool promos. We're going to see giveaways. There are a number of promos today you do not want to miss. This is the time. This is like the spring giveaways and everything. So when you purchase something, whether it's today, another day, or in the future, leave us a review. We want to hear what you think, and your reviews are what really help other people make decisions. So you can leave a review at graceframe.com, and other people just kind of want to know, it's we want to be conscious shoppers, and we love to hear how your products are working and how you love them. Okay. Now, here's the cool thing. Everybody's busy. Everybody can't be as fortunate as most of us who have this week off or have some time off for spring break, and you can't sit for the whole, maybe your kids are on spring break too, so you got to see a little segment at a time. Well, you're in luck. You can watch the pre-show after we broadcast live stream today. So today's quilt show all the segments will be available immediately after we go live on our YouTube channel. And also, if you registered on the Grace platform, it'll be on the Grace platform as well. So come back, and when you're ready to work through some of these things, you can go back and rewatch them and pause and do them play by play. All right, so I'm going to bring on a very famous, well-known, esteemed Grace Sales member, Jenna.
Hey, Kena. Hi, everybody.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. I'm so excited today. I was listening to what you were talking about and looking at all the comments and just like getting more and more excited for everything that's going to happen for the next 2 days.
Yes, it's so exciting. So Jenna, there's also kind of a relatively new community program or that's happening. You want to tell us about what's
Yes.
happening?
Oh, yeah. I really want to talk about this. So it's called Quilters Playground, and it's our new live free online event. So this is twice a month, and you can participate by going online to graceframe.com and going to the education tab. And it's so fantastic. You get to learn from Carla and from Marie and the other educators. Usually there's a free code to use, and you can use that either with us or with any of your dealers for a special project. And you learn stuff about QCT, about free motion. There's so much going on. It's so fun. And like I said, it's free. So it's on Tuesdays. The next one is April 9th, Wednesday, April 9th at 5 o'clock Mountain Daylight Time. So if you're working, it's after hours, hopefully, or pretty close. And it's just so much fun. And then also we're doing in-person events here at our new location, and you can sign up for those as well on that tab, that education tab on the website. But we've done this for a couple of months now, and it just keeps building and building and building. We had like 100 people at the last event. It was so much fun.
That's amazing. Can you imagine like all the creative excitement and energy that's happening and learning? And so, okay, so just to be sure, how do we register? Where do we go to register for the?
So to register, yeah. So go to graceframe.com, and then once you get in there, there's a bunch of little tabs at the top. Go to the education page. It will pull in, and then you can register. It'll ask you a couple of questions, like when's your birthday? Not the year. We don't need to know that. Just the month. And then we'll send you like a code at your birthday for a discount and everything like that. But the best part, like you could come and just watch each time, or you can watch them on YouTube because they're going to be recorded each time. You can watch them later, but by registering, then any papers or instructions or patterns or anything that's gotten talked about in the class, it gets sent to you in an email after the class. And if you've registered ahead of time, if there's something that the educators want you to learn ahead of time, like if Carla's like, hey, read this stuff and learn it, and then we're going to talk about it, you'll get an email before the event. So you get all those things that help remind you for the class. It's really, really fun.
Oh, that sounds amazing. And I look forward to joining. So is it every other Wednesday or just?
Every other Wednesday, yeah.
Every other Wednesday, okay.
And just on Zoom. So when you register, then you'll get an email with that link to connect in with the Zoom call. So free, you don't have to leave your home. It's a class. I mean, who doesn't love fun classes? Yeah, and then it's from 5 to 6, but we've been having a group of people just come at 4:30, and it's just like we're getting ready for the class. So we talk about quilting. What are you working on? Does anybody have any questions, like, or a problem or something? It's really great because we've gotten to see some like people say like, well, this is what I'm working on today, and yeah, I just love it so much.
Oh, thank you. That's fantastic. So again, you sign up, you go to grace.com.
Graceframe.com.
Oh, Graceframe.
Yeah, graceframe.com. Yeah,
and then click on the education tab.
Yeah.
All right,
and it's so wonderful. It's just through Zoom, so you don't even have to go on any other platforms. You just get that link for Zoom, so it's going to be great. But yeah, so make sure you come.
Awesome. Yeah. I can't wait. So what is exciting? What's exciting going on at Grace Frame right now? What's going on? What should we look at?
Yeah, we always look at our festivals like, okay, what fun promotion can we do? And let me tell you, this one is just so fun. So first off, we've got the light bar. The luminous light bar. This is an LED light station, so it's not going to add extra light heat, because if you've got an incandescent bulb, you're going to have a lot of heat that's sitting there. And sure, if you're in a basement, it may not matter. But when you're quilting for a long time, you want to make sure that you're not adding extra heat on there. So it comes in 5 foot that can expand to 6 feet, a 10 foot that can expand to 11. And then if you've got that big 12-foot frame, you want to get the 2-foot extension. So you can see they're discounted so nicely, such a great buy right now. And the other special that's going on, so if you're thinking, well, I don't know, I've been thinking about it, we have free shipping in conjunction with this. So through the 17th, those specials. So if you've been thinking, well, I'm not sure about the light bar, it's free shipping right now. Don't wait. You can get free shipping, and then that helps you buy more fabric, right? All the discounts. I always say, whatever special you get with Grace, go buy fabric with those extra monies.
Because we don't have enough fabric. So that
It's
should
so
be
true.
a strong consideration. And I love my luminous bar. I have the 10-foot one, and that is literally the only light in the room. Not only does it light up my quilting space, it really lights up my room. Now it's in like a 12, but it's not a huge room, but it does the job and then some. I love it. I can't imagine my quilt space without it.
Yeah, and people, we were just talking with a dealer, one of my account executives was saying how this dealer was saying, you know what, I'm gonna get two, because I want one over my frame and machine, and I want one over the cutting table, so that I don't have to keep moving it back and forth, because they come with casters, they roll on them, so you can have that option. But yeah, you can, if you have one already and you've been thinking, oh, I've been moving it back and forth, it's a great time to get that second one, so you can put it over your cutting table or your sewing table that's not just your frame and machine.
Yeah, and they're on casters. You bring a good point. You can move them around as well. So if you can't get two right now, which would be ideal, because most people are like, why don't I have one over my cutting table? Is now I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. Well, and then the other special we've got going on, this is just crazy, but this is about buying a machine and frame together. So you get some extra money off. So we already have our fantastic bundle where certain machines and frames are bundled together and you get a free frame with it. But now when you're buying that bundle, you get an extra $150 off when you're buying the Cutie, the Q-Zone Hoop, and the Q-Zone Queen, which is less money than if you're buying the machine by itself.
Wow.
So get that frame. If you've been thinking like, maybe it's time to upgrade my frame, and maybe it's time to upgrade my machine, do it now, because it's extra discount and free shipping, you know, all those things. And then it's an extra $200 off if you're doing the Evolution frames. The Hoop or the Elite, right? The Elite's the one that can go 8 feet, you can get it in 10 or you can get it in 12, and that Evolution Hoop is a 5 foot that can do rolling or hooping style. So if you only have 5 feet of space, you can still roll it quilting at the 5 feet size, so a twin or baby or crib, or you know, those smaller projects can roll. Then if you're doing a big one, you can just do the hoop. So cheaper than if you're buying. So if you've been thinking, oh, it's time for me to get my new machine, I've been thinking I need a little bit of throat space, maybe you have a domestic machine on a Cutie and you've been thinking about getting the 19, it's already discounted, and then you get another frame. So this is the best time to get that option. Yeah.
Very
so
nice.
Much fun. So much fun. Yeah. So don't wait. Again, free shipping through the 17th. So all these specials go through the end of the month, but that special free shipping is only through the 17th. So don't wait and then you've missed it and you've gotten the good discount, but you couldn't have gotten free shipping. And again, like we said, use it for fabric. Use it for extra stuff. Get a ruler base, get rear handles, get something else that goes with your stuff that you've discounted because you're saving on all that shipping.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so you definitely want to take advantage of getting the bundle because it works instead of just like getting a machine, and then take advantage of the free shipping. Oh, that shipping. Woo! It can be
so fantastic.
Sometimes. Yeah. So.
Well, and then the other thing I wanted to talk about is that we are doing a giveaway. So we always have pre-registration giveaways. These are for everybody that's registered ahead of time. We throw them through a random generator. And so I'm gonna give away today a little Rebel and a Cutie. But if you haven't had a chance, if you don't win this prize, we wanna make sure that you still have that option to get that little Rebel. It's a straight stitch machine, 2,600 stitches per minute. You can take it on and off the Cutie. You can add automation to it. I don't know if everybody remembers that with the Cutie and the little Rebel, you can add automation. So, you know, this is so much fun. You can have a small section of your quilt area and still quilt a king size quilt with automation when you do that. But the prize I'm giving away is just the little Rebel, and the Cutie The automation is later for you to get, but just the little Rebel and Cutie. Yeah.
That's a pretty darn good start, though.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you don't win it and you've been thinking about it, now's the best time to get that right. It's an additional $150 off if you're buying the little Rebel with the Cutie. Perfect time to get it and to take care of it. So, right. And then you get that, you're already in conjunction for that free shipping because the minimum's only $100. So any machine and frame is going to automatically hit that free shipping requirement. So yeah, that's going to be really great. But I wanted to do, I know we don't have very much time this morning because we got to get to our stuff, but I did want to do a bingo giveaway for everybody that's watching live to participate in.
Favorite fun part, bingo.
Yes, yes. So my question is, what is, and we're going to do a prize from Facebook, from YouTube, and then from the Grace platform. So we'll pick 3 winners. So the question, so everybody starts putting in their, get ready for typing. The question is, what is our theme today of Spring Fling? Kena talked about it. It was at the beginning. So hopefully everybody saw it. So put those in the comments, and I'm going to get us our number here.
Wonderful. Okay, so
What do we
now
get?
just
What do we
a
get?
reminder, it's going to be a random selector. So,
Yes.
all right.
It's a white bingo ball. And so that
Okay.
is our 360 circle cutter. One of, I mean, the whole sales team, I think, loves the 360 circle cutter.
Yes.
It's so much fun. Can do circles from, excuse me, 2 inches to 12.5 inches. So fantastic. It's so easy to use.
Oh, I love it. I got mine. I got my circle cutter, and it just works amazing. Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
Now I'm going to throw in, for this bingo winner, I'm going to throw in an extra set of blades. So an extra blade for that 360. You can only get the blades from us. So I'm going to throw that in for that extra giveaway prize. But we're going to now choose randomly a winner who answered the question correctly. It is
On Facebook,
Life of a Quilt.
Life
Yes.
of a Quilt is the answer, and our Facebook selected winner is.
Do my drum
There's
rolls.
so many coming through.
They're trying to click it, trying to do the random. Oh,
There
Becky!
we Becky Hegley Butler. Awesome. You won that
Congratulations.
cutter and bonus blades. And,
Bonus blades.
And let's see. Should we select the next one now?
Yeah, so let's do our YouTube winner.
Okay. YouTube winner.
YouTube. Wanda!
Wanda
Woohoo!
Quilter. Congratulations, Wanda. Awesome.
And
All
our
right.
finally winner is from our Grace platform, watching over there on a Grace platform. Now, as a reminder, you can watch, Eileen, congratulations. So as a reminder, we pick 3 winners, right? Facebook, YouTube, and the Grace platform. So we always have 3 winners from those things. Now, I know some people are like, ooh, I'm gonna watch on both things. I don't think anybody's ever won anything, so don't do that to yourself. Just watch it on the one. Then you don't have to be like, try to watch and answer all these different things. But congratulations. For everybody that won, we want to have you email Allegra at graceframe.com. She's our prize coordinator. And every time I ask her, I'm like, is it becoming too much? Do you want to, give up something? She's like, not the prizes. I gotta keep, that's my favorite part of the job, right? Is sending out prizes to everybody. So congratulations. And then I think we have time for one more before we do the giveaway.
Okay.
So my second question is, where do you go to get on Quilters Playground? How do you register for that? So I talked about 2 things. You have to do step 1 and then step 2. And that's also where you go for live classes. So step 1 and step 2. So tap those in. I'm going to get a new.
Okay. So yeah, that's the question.
Okay. That's
it's
the question.
2-part answer. It's a
And
2-part answer.
2-part.
Yes.
All right. So if you don't have 2 things in your answer, you got to have 2 parts. So we've got a yellow ball. A white one came out, but I wanted to give away something different. So I chose yellow.
So what are the yellow prizes?
The yellow is the rectangle ruler bundle. That's the 6.5 by 24.5, 6.5 by 12.5, and 3 by 18. And it's going to come with a pack of 3 true grips, 3 packs of true grips for those rulers. But again, I'm going to throw something in. I'm going to throw in that 3 by 8 ruler. It's our brand new rectangle ruler. So you can get 4 rulers and 4 true grips with that. So again, our drum roll of prizes. Let's see who has got our Facebook winner.
Facebook winner is Katie Bob.
Yes, correct.
Grace
Go to the
Company
Grace Company website. And then the education tab. Excellent, excellent job, Katie. All right, and YouTube.
Who do we have on YouTube?
Tishwa, good job.
Congratulations, very good.
Okay, and
people, even though they're on spring break, they have their listening caps on today. So this is good.
It's true. They were like writing everything down in case we asked a question. Okay, and then finally, we've got our Grace platform. Barbara, congratulations. So as a reminder, everybody email Allegra at graceframe.com and she will get the information. Send her your address and your phone number so that she can get that out to you. And then finally, before Kena finishes up her stuff, I have one last thing, the giveaway. So this is our prize today for pre-registration giveaway. It's the Little Rebel and the Cutie. And I know that they've got this random generator that has created it as well. So let's do a drum roll for that.
All right, drum roll. Ella Strong Lopez.
Congratulations, Ella. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you. We have your information. So yeah, Allegra will email you. She's got your email already, so she'll email you out and get you contacted of where to send that fantastic prize. But again, if you didn't win, that's okay. We've got free shipping through the 17th, so take advantage of it.
Awesome. Well, that about covers it for our opening live. I know everyone is ready to get started. We're going to jump right into our first segment with Sabrina, who is going to show us how to make that Duffel year bag, and we'll be back at Midlive with more Q&A, giveaways, promotions, and fun. See you.
Thanks, everybody.
Hi friends, and welcome back to Spring Fling. Today we're going to be talking about how to make a quilted duffel bag, but we're going to be using a classic method with a new twist. So let's get started. We're going to start by opening up QCT6 and opening up Pattern Cab. We're going to do a 1-inch grid. So to do that, we're going to start by measuring our fabric. I'm going to make sure that my snap to grid is on, and we are just drawing lines. And to make it less busy, I'm going to increase my node spacing a little bit. So I'm going to start in the corner here, and we're just going to drop down to create a little line. And you want to make sure that continuous lines is checked over here. 5, 10, 15, and I'm actually going to make it 20 inches. Then I'm going to go into edit, and I'm going to simplify that line so it's just one simple line. So you want to make sure before you draw that next line that you uncheck continuous lines. And then I can start at the top and recheck that box. And we're going to do just a couple more of these. I like to get at least 5 total. So we've got our 5 lines. We're going to go back in and we're going to simplify all of them. Then we're going to select all and copy. So now I have 10 lines. These are not actual measurements yet, because we don't have a safe area until we put it into QuiltCAD. So I've got 10 here and I need a total of 40 because my piece is 40 inches wide. So we'll select all and copy again. That's 20, copy again. That's 30, copy again, and that's 40. So now I am going to unselect all, and I'm gonna go ahead and swap layers. This just makes the visibility a teensy bit easier, and it simplifies the process a little bit. So we're gonna go back to draw. We're gonna draw continuous lines, and I'm just gonna make a little guy there and go all the way to that edge. Edit and simplify it, and then we'll keep drawing. Make sure you uncheck that continuous line box between your lines. Okay, we'll go ahead and simplify this. I'm gonna go ahead and select all, and we're just gonna copy them and drag them down. Copy and drag down, copy and drag down. I'm gonna unselect all, and then I'm just gonna select the last 2 nodes here, and we can delete those. So we'll resimplify everything. I'm gonna swap my layers, and you can see that it has a nice grid here. What I'm gonna do is merge those layers, and now we have a 40 by 20 inch grid. I'm gonna optimize it just to make sure everything is going the way I want. I wanna do my horizontal lines first, and then my vertical lines second. And it looks like everything is in the proper order. As it goes down, we just wanna double check, and that is gonna do exactly what we want it to. So now we can hit OK, and we're gonna save this pattern. So I can go into patterns, I can add it to Sabrina. You can see some of my old projects there. And I'm gonna label this 40 by 20. And we can hit enter and save. So now we are all done with Pattern CAD. We can now take our tablet on over to the machine with our thumb drive, and we can get started with our quilting. All right, now we're back at our machine and frame. Today we'll be using the 21X Elite as well as the Evolution Elite frame. So to start, we have a little sandwich here. So I have my backing all set, and it is attached to this top rail here. And then my take-up rail has a few different things on it. So underneath here is some Pellon Flex foam. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab that piece we measured earlier, and it should be just a little bit wider than my top. If you are stitching continuously on something like this, if your machine has a zigzag stitch, it might be good to piece these together, but they are also double-sided fusible. So I'm gonna go ahead and fold my top fabric back down. And this fabric here, you can see it's kind of shiny. This is a laminated cotton called splash fabric. It can be ironed, it can be pieced, you can do everything with it, and it's incredibly water resistant. So it's gonna be perfect for that outside bottom of our duffel bag. To get started, we're gonna open up QCT6 again, and we're gonna make sure that our machine is in the center of our frame and that our needle is up. Now we're ready to rock and roll. So instead of opening up Pantograph or Select and Sew, we're gonna do something a little odd, and we're gonna open up QuiltCAD. This will ensure that our pattern is going to be placed exactly how we want it to. So for our safe area, again, make sure you're all the way off your quiltable area. See how it's away from the edge of my backing here. I'm gonna set that as my top left, and I'm gonna come all the way across and back down. And same thing, just make sure there's a gap between your backing fabric and your machine here, and we can hit bottom right. So now we can put our machine back here, and we're gonna adjust our size. So we're gonna go to that top right corner here, and our number of blocks, we just want it to be 1. So I'm gonna decrease to 1 by 1, then I'm gonna change the dimensions. So I know that my height needs to be 20 inches and that my width needs to be 40. So this is gonna be the dimensions of our entire quilt. Now I can select my pattern. We labeled it 40 by 20. And now I'm gonna select my area. See how it's kind of grayed out now? And we're gonna place the pattern. So that looks a little silly, but if we turn on our lock here over to the right and we hit max, this is going to get us a 1-inch grid. So we'll just go like that, and that's gonna put us exactly where we wanna be. So now we're gonna hit sew in zones. We can hit yes, and we're gonna go ahead and save the zone sewing session as that, and then we can hit save. So now we have kind of a funky grid that's showing up here. And all I'm gonna do is place point A. I want my A point to be just a little inside of that, and then I'm just gonna hit that top here. So that's my A. And normally you would mark this, but for what we're doing here, I'm not gonna mark it because I'm only gonna sew 1 zone. And I'm gonna adjust my zone manager, and I wanna make sure that I'm using 4-point placement and that we're starting from left and that our sewing is all going from left to right. So we can hit okay, and again, I'm just gonna feel for that edge of my foam here and adjust that as my point A. So now we can go ahead and move to start point. It's gonna engage our system here, and we can do a single stitch. We can move the machine away, pull up our bobbin, and now we're ready to hit sew. So while this is sewing its first line, I'm just gonna hold this a little taut because it's on the edge. Normally you would use the pink quilt clips to hold that down, but we're just gonna let it stitch across here. Okay, so it did its little tie off. Now we can add our quilt clips back on. And it's gonna be a little wonky when you have that edge because instead of batting, we have that flex foam in there. And we can release our carriage so that we can trim our tails. Now, instead of having the machine move to next because it is so far away, we're just gonna pull it to the other side. Or we can go ahead and hit move to next because we're gonna be a lot closer to the area we were. And because it's right on the edge here, I'm not gonna worry about pulling up my bobbin. So we can go ahead and hit sew. And it's just gonna stitch itself across here. So now we're gonna stitch out the rest of our horizontal lines and we'll be right back to start on the verticals. All right, we're coming up on our last horizontal line here. So we're just gonna move to next and hit sew. All right, we can trim our tails and then we're gonna pop back up into this top left-hand corner because that's gonna be where we're gonna start up again. Hit move to next. And I'm just gonna go ahead and trim all of these little guys here. So you just wanna get them out of the way for that straight line to trim down. So we're good to pull up our bobbin here. We're gonna hit the single stitch here. Go ahead and feed our thread underneath to pull up that bobbin, and we're ready to sew. I'm just gonna hold on to my tails here as that moves, and off it goes. Perfect. I'm gonna release my carriage, pull away, loop my fingers up underneath, twist over, bring it back, and single stitch. That is going to pull up our bobbin. We can trim it off and move on to the next line. Again, we're just going to do a single stitch, make it real simple, pull that bobbin thread, and away it goes. So you can see this has made a nice little grid. If I grab my 3x8" ruler, you can see I've got my stitch edge here, my stitch edge here, and it makes a perfect 1-inch grid. So we'll come back up to the top here, hit move to next, single stitch, pull up our bobbin, and we can hit sew. I want to stop for a minute and just take a look at this texture. You can see it makes a puffy, kind of bubbly texture with this 1-inch grid. And if you use the automation, it'll be perfect every time. For those of you who don't have automation, this same technique can be done with channel locks. You just want to make sure that you're locking your grid into place on the 1-inch. And what I would recommend doing is sewing all of your horizontal lines. And then just like you would with borders and corners, rotating your fabric and doing the horizontal lines again. That'll make your process a little bit smoother. So now we can hit mark zone. It's gonna ask me if I am 100% positive that I'm finished, and I'm gonna say yes. So I'm just gonna have it sew my little mark. It's gonna move over. Now it's ready to go to the next mark. So it's just gonna bring itself over to the other side. And while it's doing that, I'm gonna trim off that tail and the bottom one as well. And now it's gonna sew the mark on this side. Now we can hit continue, We want to make sure everything's properly placed. And now it's going to move to the top of the zone. I'm going to trim my tail. And now we're ready to move our fabric. So we are going to take off our Grace Company quilt clips. And I'm going to roll just a tiny bit because I only have a little bit left for this small piece. I'm going to roll it about that far. Make sure it's got some good bounce to it. And now we're ready to go again. So we can hit OK. Yes, I moved the fabric. And like I said, since there's just a little bit left, we are good here. So I can say that's my point A. And then I can hop on over to my point B. Perfect. And that's my B. So you'll notice that my zone is red. It's just because I didn't roll my fabric enough. So it's going to cut off whatever is left over and outside of the quiltable area, and that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and hit move to start point. And let's go ahead and sew. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and I am gonna get it to the point where we're gonna be sewing the vertical lines. Instead of hitting move to next, I'm gonna use pattern repair to get to where I need to be. We're gonna hit closest stitch, and that's gonna get us right to that tippy top here. So you can see that my end point is not where I need it to be. So what I'm gonna do is open up my toolbox, and I'm gonna go ahead and hit end point adjust. Now, this is going to be number 13, so I'm just going to tap on it. And now I can go ahead and adjust it as far over as I need it to. So it's just going to take little baby steps. So now my point is right on. So I can go ahead and hit OK. And I just need to remember that I am on number 13. We'll tap 13. We'll do a single stitch and hit sew. Now it'll be right in line with the piece that you're doing. So all you'll need to do is continue on with that same process until you get to the end of your fabric and you'll be good to go. Rezoning is just the same as any other pattern. You just want to make sure that those endpoints on your vertical lines match up. Thanks so much for joining us for part 1 of the Quilted Duffel. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll show you how to use the pieces you've just quilted to assemble an awesome travel bag. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Grace Company Quilting on YouTube, follow us on social media, and share your projects with us. We can't wait to see what you create. Stay tuned.
I have a friend with a new baby, and I thought it would be fun to make her a very simple pouch, but I'm kind of under time constraints for a couple of reasons, not least of which is my procrastination. But I'm gonna make her a cute pouch. It'll be super easy. I'm just using scraps and what I have laying around, and we'll just see what turns out. The good thing about making bags and purses is they're just rectangles. So no matter the size, even if you start with a rectangle, maybe that's too small, you can use that bag for something else and then increase your rectangle size and make another bag. It's just a rectangle. So I'm going to make a rectangle and then we'll turn it into a pouch. Okay, I have the scrap fabric for the back. I really just pulled this from my stash. It's cute. I like it. I think she'll like it. I am not going to fuss too much about this because I just have to get it done. So this is my backing. I actually have these really fun clips now. And they hold the fabric really well, and so instead of actually pinning on with this tiny little piece of fabric, I don't have to worry about it. So I'm just going to clip it on here, and then secure my bar, and then clip it on the bottom. There we go. Okay, let me find a piece of scrap batting. Now what I'm going to do, I have this really cute jelly roll. It's precious. Look how cute that is. So I'm going to do like a quilt as you go technique. This is Fresh as a Daisy from Moda. And I'll actually cut these in half because I don't even need a full strip. If you were doing a big quilt or a big bag or something, you could use the full strip and do this with the full strip. So I'm going to put the first strip on there, right side up. And then I'm going to take my next strip. Let me find a contrasting. How fun is that? I'm going to put it right sides together. Down, so I have backing, batting, and then my 2 strips are right sides together. And let's see, I've got her on regulated precise at 8 stitches per inch, and let's just see if that's going to work for us. So I'm going about 1/4 inch from this bottom edge. I can use the edge of my foot as a guide even, and I'm just going to kind of hold firmly back here, not firmly, just gently, and just so that it doesn't move on me. And I'm going to emphasize, this does not have to be perfect. So this first seam line is done. I'm going to flip this over. So I flipped it out. Oh my goodness, I'm living it already. And then I'm going to do my next piece. Right sides together. And we're just going to do that same thing again. The fabric did shift a little on me, so I'm going to go a little farther from the edge. I think just being too close to the edge made it shift, so I'll stay a little farther from the edge. I'm about 3/8 of an inch from the edge. Oh yeah, that's much better. Okay, so I'm going to continue doing that with more strips. I could work from this way back, but I'm right-handed and just going the same way every time just feels more natural. Okay, I am super happy with that. Is it perfect? No. But is it cute? Yes. And is it going to be done soon? Also yes. I'm going to get this off the frame, which is really easy because it's just clips. I'm actually going to trim. I'm just going to cut it off. And I'm going to serge the edges to make it nice and even. Trim it up, stick a zipper on it, we're going to be done. I really just want a cute little pouch for her to carry diapers and wipes in. I think this is a good size. Yeah. And then I do want to put a little wrist strap on it because I feel like if you have a baby in one hand, you need a wrist strap. So we'll use some other strips to do that. Okay, so right now this measures 18.5 by 14.
Look how cute that is.
Now, if you don't have a serger, you can absolutely bind these edges. For me, the serger is just the quickest option. First thing we have to do is iron that little wrist strap. So I'm just using another piece of that jelly roll, and I'm going to fold raw edges to the inside or to the middle. We'll give this a good top stitch. pretty long. I'm thinking there. How long is that? That was 15 inches. So then we take our pouch, our quilted fabric, and you can press it if you want to. I'm not even going to. And I have this super fun zipper from Glitter Bag Fairy. I like to use zipper tape that comes on a roll by the yard. You can just use however much you need and then clip off where you don't need it and you're not wasting because you're using like an odd size. So I'm going to put zipper tape right sides together with my pouch. So this is the right side of my pouch, and the part where the zipper teeth actually show is the right side for my zipper tape. I'm going to put right sides together right on that edge, and I've got, you know, about an inch of zipper tape off the beginning of the pouch. And I'm using my foot to ride right up against that zipper. Don't ride so hard that you push the zipper, but just gently ride the presser foot against the teeth of the zipper. Okay, I'll trim off this extra. And then I'll flip it over and kind of match up the edges of my bag. Like that, and then do the same thing. Okay, so here's what I like to do sometimes when I'm making a bag. Instead of trying to sew with the zipper all the way at the top edge, it's a little awkward and doesn't always cooperate. So I'm going to roll the zipper down to one side. So you see the zipper is about 1/2 inch from the top fold. That'll just make it easier to fold it right side out, turn it right side out while we're done. So we're gonna do that on both sides. So all really we have to do now is sew the side seams and make sure we include our wrist strap in that side seam. Actually, I think I'd like to top stitch. I'm gonna open it up, top stitch that zipper just to make it sit a little bit nicer. Yeah, that's a little better. I could even do another row of it if I wanted to. I might actually. Let's do that real quick. I just want that zipper to be real flat. That looks nice. It sits nicely. Nice and flat. Okay, I'll do the other side. Okay, now I have to put it back together. But I like these large zippers because they're actually easy to put the slides on and off. And look at this super sweet slide. It said, I love you. So I'm going to match up my teeth. And I like to do this upside down anyways. And it's inside out. But upside down for me does better. I just kind of hold both sides of the zipper tape with each hand, and then my finger is what pushes the slide on. So put it on and pull it all the way off. That closes it on both ends. Then I open it back up, put the pull back on there, and put it in the middle. Now we can sew this shut with the strap in there. Here I backstitched at the zipper teeth and then at the beginning and the end. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. Go slow across the zipper teeth, but as long as you don't have a metal zipper, your sewing machine will sew over it just fine. I'm going to trim these a little shorter, just a little. And then what I'm going to do is use a lighter to kind of melt this so that it won't fray on me. So be careful not to burn your fabric. It does not take long or much or close. Right there, and see how you can test it. There we go. Yeah. So now it won't fray on me. Good. Let's turn her inside out. Right side out. Oh, I'm super excited. Just a simple little pouch with a wrist strap. Now she can put diapers and wipes and maybe some snacks. Snacks are important. I'm so excited about this little pouch. I didn't even mean to have a bold stripe in the middle, but it's cute and it works. And it was so fast. So I hope you make a million. I might make a million more. The wrist strap, I thought about making it removable, but in the end, this was simpler and I had to get this done. I'm gonna put measurements and some resources for zippers for you in the little downloadable handout. I love this. I hope you'll make one. Bye.
Are y'all having so much fun at Spring Fling? Are you feeling inspired yet? Because I know I am. And today I'm gonna teach you how to turn any old t-shirt into a t-shirt quilt. We're gonna need 3 different rulers. You're gonna want your 12.5-inch square ruler, your 6.5-inch square ruler, and a 12.5 by 6.5-inch rectangle ruler. All of these are Devin's. He is one of our managers here at Grace, and he used to do theater, so we're doing a whole bunch of theater t-shirts. This guy has a front and a back, and so we're gonna start by laying out my t-shirt, and I'm gonna take my rotary cutter, and I'm just gonna cut both sides all the way off. Boom, boom. I'm gonna open this guy up and let's cut this guy in half. And let's look at this decal right here. What I want you to do is I want you to take your rulers and you're just gonna put them on top of the decal to see which one fits best. So looking at this, I could either go with the 12.5, something like that, or I could go with a 6.5 by 12.5-inch rectangle, and I think that guy works great. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start by putting this guy on top, centering it, and I want the decal to be in the middle. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rough cut around the edge at least a 1/2 inch bigger than what my final square is gonna be. And it's just a rough cut. Boom. And what I like to do is I like to keep these until the very end, or like till I put the quilt top together, just in case I need more fabric. So I'm gonna do that with all of the shirts. Let's get this guy. And I'm looking at this guy, I know for sure that my 6-inch ruler is gonna be the best. I'm just gonna rough cut around the edge. And I'm gonna do that with the rest of these shirts. People think that making a t-shirt quilt is super difficult, when in reality, it is not at all. It is the prep that really scares people, because like t-shirts are stretchy fabric. It's intimidating to try to work with the stretchy cotton. And so what we're gonna do later on is we're gonna put some fusible interfacing onto it, and that is gonna prevent this guy from stretching. Don't look at that. Ah! That's okay, we're all adults here. Okay, I'm gonna put my 12-inch because that guy fits best. Technically, I feel like I could do this guy. Whenever you are figuring out what ruler to use, you want to make sure that there is at least a 1/2 inch on either side of the decal at a minimum, or else it's gonna look a little weird. Let's say I have this one and I think it's gonna fit, but it doesn't look the best because there's only a 1/4 inch or less on either side of the decal, and so it will look not great on the quilt. I'm gonna rough cut all the way around. Boom shakalaka. This guy is gonna be this guy. And last but not least, working with a sweatshirt is the same way that you're gonna work with a regular t-shirt. It's just gonna be slightly thicker. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna cut the arms off. Cut this back part off, the hood off. Now let's separate it out. We got our 76 trombones. In the comments, you all should tell me your favorite musical, because right now I'm obsessed with Wicked. I did a t-shirt quilt a couple weeks ago for my brother-in-law, and I watched Wicked twice while sewing it because it was so fun. Okay, last but not least, we got this piece. If this bottom part is stretching too much and you can't get a straight cut, then easily just cut it off, chop it off. There we go, look, now it's straight, it's so easy. I'm gonna put this guy right on top, make sure it's centered, and boom. Boom, 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 boom. Now we've got some of our shirt pieces, and now we're gonna add some interfacing onto it. You're gonna use SF101. It is a fusible interfacing, and that just means that there are little glue dots on one side of the interfacing that is gonna add structure. These guys are gonna stretch a lot more while we sew them, especially look how much this guy's stretching. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add fusible interfacing onto the back. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut pieces of the interfacing that are the same size, and we're gonna iron them. But first I'm gonna go through and cut this up a little bit. This guy and this guy, I could easily just put these on the same interfacing. You can find SF101 at any of your craft stores. You can find it on Amazon. If you're doing a t-shirt quilt, I recommend getting in bulk, because honestly, I have no clue how much you're gonna need. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna come over to our iron. And we're gonna iron these babies with fusible interfacing. But with t-shirt quilts, with the decals, if you iron over them, they will melt, unless you put something on top. But I'm lazy and I don't wanna do that. So, all you're gonna do is you're gonna press it onto the back, and you wanna make sure that the fusible side is down. All you're gonna do is you're gonna hold the iron on top of the fusible and just let it marinate, let it melt. And the fusible does need water, does need steam of some sort, so put water in your iron, or if you don't want water in your iron, make sure you have a spray bottle nearby, because it does need some steam in order to adhere. We got all our pieces. Now we're gonna cut down everything to the exact shape of our rulers. I like to start with the 6.5 inch squares because they're easy. And now that we've done it to these guys, we're gonna do it to the rest. Oh my gosh, look. More t-shirts, where did these come from? Now that we have all of our t-shirts cut out, we're gonna start putting them together. Sometimes with t-shirts, there are spots on the shirt that won't make your perfect 6.5 inch square. This guy was on the arm of the t-shirt, and this guy was on the front, and they're not fitting my 6.5 inch square exactly. So what I'm gonna do is I am gonna sew them together So then they fit my 6.5-inch square later on. Or what you can do that's really fun is if you have a circle cutter, you can cut this guy out as a circle and applique it randomly on your quilt. Any of these guys, just be creative with it. Sew them together, cut them out, boom. I noticed that with this quilt, there weren't a whole lot of t-shirts that were the 12-inch size. And a lot of them ended up being your 6.5 by 12.5 inch. And so just in case, I cut up a bunch of 6.5-inch squares from the excess t-shirt material. And what this also does is it provides fun colors, because a lot of the times t-shirts are black, white, gray. And so this just helps me be able to make that quilt brighter and just have more fun and be creative. Now we're gonna lay these all out. Now we're gonna lay out all these guys on the floor, and I don't have a board big enough, so that's why we're using the floor. Now we're gonna start laying everything out. And I am just gonna work my way from the middle out. And we're just gonna have some fun with this layout. I'm gonna save all of my pieces that don't have any decals on it for later, just as empty space fillers. But you're just gonna go through and start messing around with the design. And you're just gonna make random squares. That's really all we're doing. And you wanna mix up your values, make sure that you don't have a whole lot of darks on darks or lights on lights. You wanna just play around with it a little bit more. Okay, you can see that in this design that we ran out of shirt decals. So that's why I have all of these, to put them randomly in the middle. I'm looking at it, I like the evenness of the distribution of color and value. I like these little stripes in here just to make it a little bit bigger. And now I'm gonna go to my machine and I'm gonna sew it all together, and I'm gonna sew it first into little square sections like this. Because remember, we put it out in little squares, then I'm gonna sew my squares together and so forth until I have a giant quilt top. So I've got my first block right here, and all you're gonna do is sew it into sections, kind of like you would do on a normal quilt, right? You sew the things into sections. I'll start up here. I'm gonna sew these two. I'll just chain piece this one block together. We're gonna press these guys. And when you're pressing a t-shirt quilt, because t-shirts are so bulky, sometimes it's easier to press them open. Yes, I know that pressing things open means that there is a weaker seam, but when you quilt it, it will all be fine. And then I have this handy dandy piece of wood. You can literally go to Home Depot, get them to chop wood for you and screw a handle on it. And I'll put that on top of the t-shirt seams just to keep it a flat seam. So I'll go like that. Take my press, there we go. While that's going, I can sew these two together. Again, remember, do not press from the front because of your decals. You do not want to melt those guys at all. And if you wanted to, you could pin these together. I am not going to. We're going to press this guy open, especially with this part right here where there are 4 seams that meet. That is where you want the pressing block for sure. This brown piece right here, that one is a sweatshirt. So it's gonna be a little thicker, which is why we wanna use our pressing block. So I'll just pull this out a little bit. I'm gonna put my block on this. Cooling off dance break. Okay, we're good. Now we've got one block done. I'm gonna go back and do these to all the other pieces. We've sewn all of our blocks together, and now it's time to sew together our rows. And I'm using the block on the thick part, just letting it chill for a second, chill out, flatten out, relax. This baby is all pressed. I'm gonna go quilt it really fast. And are you ready for the reveal? Ah! Oh my goodness, this guy is beautiful. I love how it turned out. On the back, I decided to have some fun with it, and Devin, who is receiving this quilt, loves Marvel. So I decided to put fun Marvel fabric on the back. We threw a little bit of his personality on the back. When you are quilting a t-shirt quilt, I recommend using a glide foot of some kind to go over those thicker seams, because a lot of the times with the fusible and the t-shirt material or sweatshirt material, you're gonna have a lot thicker seams than you normally would on a quilt. And then I just decided to do a large all over meander to really let the shirts shine. And if you want to learn how to machine bind your quilts perfectly, I have a tutorial coming out on all of our social media channels, so make sure to follow us there. I hope this little tutorial gives you the confidence to make your own t-shirt quilt. It's a lot easier than you think. It's just going to take a little bit of extra time to prep your t-shirts. Go ahead and leave a comment letting us know what your favorite part of Spring Fling has been so far.
Hi everybody, I am so happy to be here. I am April with April's Craft Room, and today I am going to share with you how I am making a memory quilt. Now, memory quilts are something that are made of an item from someone that you love. Someone that may still be here with us and someone that may not still be here with us. Either way, the quilt or whatever it is you make with these items should bring joy. You should think of the person and have memories of fun times and just get some bit of remembrance, thus the name memory quilt, out of it. My father-in-law passed away a little over a year ago, and when we were going through his closet, I said, I want all the shirts that haven't been claimed by anybody. I want them. And now I'm going to put those shirts to good use. Let me show you how. Fortunately, my father-in-law was not a clothes hoarder like me. So, although I have a lot of shirts, it's not an overwhelmingly large number. What I want to do is I would like to make a quilt for my husband, my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law, and my brother-in-law. And I think I might be able to do it. I always misjudge the amount of fabric I have. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a pattern that uses triangles. I have this template, and it is a triangle template. I thought that it would be a good masculine type design because this quilt is the one that I am making for my husband. And this is what the quilt looks like. Now what they've done is they've taken the template, and actually it's 3 templates, and they've made a triangle out of 4 triangles. In the package, there are 3 templates. So here is a triangle, then there is a small triangle ruler, and then there is a half triangle ruler. And this is for your edges, because otherwise you will have edges of your quilt that are not straight. I'm abandoning the instructions. So the first thing I want to do is I want to cut out 4 triangles. Now, you can use a rotary cutter, but for the first part of this, I am going to use scissors, and I like to cut along the seam. And then I also like to cut all the way up the sleeve, because this is a seam, so, you know, I'm going to cut like that. So here I have fabric. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. This is a very, very nice cotton. Now I have the back of the shirts. So what I want to do is cut some strips. Okay, I should be able to cut this out. I have multiple triangles. So I want to use these 4 fabrics to make a triangle unit. So I flip these around. This goes here, this goes here, this goes here, and then this goes here. And that is my triangle unit. Now what I want to do is I want to sew this together, and what I'll do is I will sew this seam, I will sew this seam, and then I will sew this seam. I can probably sew these 2 together first, but you know, because this is going to make a diamond shape. So I'm going to get my ruler and I'm going to cut this side. Yeah, see, it's already stretched a little. Okay. Okay. Now I need to move my ruler. Then I'm going to go, I don't like doing it on this, but okay, and then so now I have lots of little pieces. 1, 2, 3. So I've got 3 of my light and 1 of my pieced. I have this, this, and this. So I have the beginnings of my row. I am going to continue on cutting up my shirts and making my rows and making my triangles out of the lighter prints and piecing the triangles out of the darker shirts. And when I come back, we'll see what it looks like on the design wall. All right, I've made a great deal of progress. I ended up deciding to use multiple shirts, even the shirt fabric that I had included in these pieced triangles for the full-size triangles. And I just used this triangle as a template to cut out those triangles. Then I decided that I wanted to put a half a triangle on the ends so that, oh, look, I missed one. Need one down here. So that I have a straight row. And I figured that if I just cut the full-size triangle like this in half, that should work. But I wanted to test it out before I cut a bunch of these triangles out and cut them in half. So I tried it on this row and it looks, pretty straight to me. So I decided to go ahead with that plan. I am going to sew all of my rows together and we'll have a quilt top. As you can see, my quilt top is complete. Working with shirts, a little different than working with quilting cotton, but that is okay. Now we are going to take it to the Grace 16X with automation, and we are going to quilt this quilt. So I will meet you at the long arm. So here I've rolled up the backing on the back. Now I need to roll the backing on the front because I want to start with the majority of my fabric, of my backing, on the front bar. So here are my pink quilt clips. And this should fit. There we go. Just had to use my muscles on this quilt top. I have some new finesse thread and I'm excited to use it. Strawberry lemonade. All right, so I am basting. When the machine beeps, it says I am going too fast. We are ready to rock and roll. One thing that I would like to point out is I am using the 360 Wonderfoot. And you might be asking, what is the 360 Wonderfoot? It is this foot. And the foot rotates 360 degrees on the inside. The reason that I like to use it, if you're making a quilt and it contains lots of half square triangles, there are going to be points in your quilt where your fabric is pretty thick, where all of those points of the half square triangles come together. This is kind of like one of the scoop feet you might see on other long arms. This 360 Wonderfoot just glides over the top. It doesn't get caught on anything. Sometimes I will step away from my machine when it is quilting with QCT 6 Plus. I have come back to a mess when the machine went over the edge of the quilt on the end and then tried to come back, but the ruler foot got caught underneath the edge of the fabric. And, you know, it was just trying to do what it was supposed to do. With this 360 Wonderfoot, I don't have that big of a chance of that happening. It is now time to unload our quilt. And I should just be able to unroll my quilt. Here is the quilt. Too cute. And let me show you the back. I like how the triangles turned out. And the back with the flowers. Now, something else that you could do, you could bind this and make it into just a throw quilt, something that you can snuggle with. Another option is to take the quilt that you just made and you can make a jacket. There are patterns out there that use a quilt and you cut the whole jacket out of your quilt. There are all kinds of options for your memory quilting, or you can make memory bears, memory jackets, just all kinds of things that you can do. I hope that the tutorial inspired you as far as what you can do with those items that you have and what you can make from those shirts or quilts or whatever it is that you have from your loved one. Have a great day, eat some chocolate, and be kind to everyone. Until next time, bye.
Hi everybody, welcome. Thanks for joining me today. Today I'm going to walk you through my process of creating a quilt. So I've created one that I called Baby Bear. It was inspired by a sweet girl who worked here, Janessa Kimball. Colby works here, her husband, and she got pregnant and she's expecting their first child. After knowing her and appreciating everything that she brought to the Grace Company, I wanted to do something for them to celebrate this occasion that they're going to have a sweet little baby boy. And I know she loves animals. So that inspired me to create a bear. And I like bears in general. So I designed a bear. And I looked out online to see who else has created bear designs and things like that. So I used the internet as part of my inspiration, and I found several and I incorporated them. So this is the bear design that I came up with, and these are Janessa's colors. She likes the taupe muted colors, and you can see how cute he is. So after I kind of had what I wanted the quilt to be, I started thinking about, okay, what tools do I use? And I will use Illustrator and Electric Quilt. Electric Quilt to help me start the design, but Illustrator is a great resource to hone and make the sizing correct, and you can make that into a PDF and start selling your patterns and your designs. So I did a couple of different ones because I needed to make a bear design first to make sure that my sizing was correct. So this blue one over here is the one that I did to make sure my sizing, and you can tell that's a little different from the one that I'm doing for Janessa. I used the rainbows around hers, and I used these little points to emphasize the little bear. Then this is the one I did for today to make sure the sizing. You'll see that I incorporated the bear claw pattern into my quilt. So that's what, it was really fun. You guys, the whole process of creating a quilt is so much fun, and I want to encourage you to kind of branch out. If you are used to using patterns, you have the capabilities of design. So after doing that, I had to figure out what size I wanted the centerpiece, the bear, to be. So this is morphed, and I've tweaked this so many times because I'll stand back and look at it and then edit. And that's part of the creation process, is picking and editing and then trying something new and different, which is a lot of fun, but it can be very taxing at times too. Let's talk about the fabric colors. That's another part of the design process that's really, really important. So I asked Colby and Janessa what colors they liked, and they were thinking of kind of the olive greens, the earth tones. She likes the tans and the creams and the beiges. The rainbow kind of morphed by using these little boy colors, and some of these are Riley Blake, and some of these are just plaids that I had around. All right, so that was the rainbow. You'll see a cute little rainbow. See how fun that is? And then I thought about, what do I want to make the bear, okay? So for my bear, I wanted to use just the light and the dark, or I could have done opposites. And I always knew that I wanted his little face part right here to be white, because it points out his nose and everything. It just makes him cuter. So after I picked out my fabrics, I've got my borders and everything. These are the colors that I used for my quilt here. It was a lot of fun. I was able to incorporate this fun, bold print. I love this because it has the blues and the greens, and incorporated them together. And then I had this polka dot that I really wanted to use as well, but it's really busy. So think about how busy these are. And it's a baby quilt, so sometimes we do want it to be a little loud, and sometimes we want it to go to sleep. So the muted colors are probably even better. So I used EQ for part of it. And I printed off the templates and everything because they have different ways that you can print it off. So I was able to piece my full-size block together, and here it is. And this is just a quick piecing job of taping everything together, you guys. But what this allows me to do is it allows me to make these into templates. So what I am able to do by doing this is I can measure my full blocks and use them as a template. But this is the block size. So I have to make sure I'm adding my seam allowance on all the edges that I'm going to sew together. Then, after I've made my templates and I write them all down, you'll see that I write this in the space. After I know all my sizes, then I start cutting. Now, this is the secret to it. Start with your center block first and work your way out. If you're creating a quilt, start with all your center pieces, center blocks, and then work your way out to the outer edges. That way, if there's a mistake, or if they turn out to be the wrong size, then you can make adjustments in your sashings or your borders to make up that excess. So all of these were pretty square and rectangle, and I was able to use squares and triangles to cut them out. But there were a couple that I needed a template on. And it was this little triangle here. It was longer on this side, right here, than it was on this side. It made it a little harder for me. So with regular triangle, you can do half square triangles. This one I couldn't. So I made it into a template. And I just added my 1/4 inch all the way around. And that way I was able to lay it wrong side down and then sew across it and then fold it out. And then I could make this piece a rectangle. So I was able to, there was less waste than trying to make it work. So make sure that you're looking and analyzing your pattern and cutting out the pieces appropriately. And now I'm able to take it to Illustrator and design it knowing my sizes and everything. So I'm going to put this off to the side. So with my fabric here, I wanted to show you our fabulous True Cut and when and why you want to use the right ruler for the right project. And I have, when I start cutting, a full array of rulers. And I'm telling you, I use all of them because there are different times that I need to grab a ruler to specifically and accurately cut a block out to be the shape that it needs to be without slipping and sliding. So make sure that you're using your true grips, okay? Use up all the true grips. I mean, you should not be letting any of this little piece go to waste. So you can easily put them on the back of the rulers. Now this one doesn't have any at all. So what I'll do is make sure, especially on these little corners right here, that I have my true grips on them. So just make sure you use all of them. And that way, it'll be more stable, and as you're pressing down, you don't have to press as hard for your joints, and it won't allow it to slide. So with this 6.5 by 24.5, I do not have a long arm that can reach up all the way to the top to stabilize it. So when you're using the 6.5 by 24.5, make sure you have your true grips on it, but it is great for long strips, as you're cutting long strips this way. And what's nice about it is that you can line up the top edge of your mat to the bottom edge and make sure you're on the right number or line, measuring line, and then cut. So I always have my 2 cutters. Well, I have probably more than that, you guys at home. So I have one with the guide that if I need my strips to be so nice and accurate, I am using the guide and I'm just placing it in and then just cut all the way to the top. All right? There are times when I'm cutting multiple layers that my cutting doesn't need to be quite as accurate, okay? And I can square things up, that I use the cutter without the guide because I want to get through the cutting process a little quicker and a little faster. So I will have one without the guide so I can go through more layers. What's nice about these comfort cutters, and I don't know if you knew this, is that when it comes to these curved templates, all you have to do for when you're cutting, use a flat-headed pin. So a pin that lays down flat so that you can put your ruler over it. But I wanted to show you how cool this is that actually with this cutter, I'm able to just stabilize it good enough where I can go around and just cut. And see, it just gives me accuracy. Now, I don't know if I could do this with my 60, but this is my 45. But look how nice that curve is and how accurate it is. This is great to utilize and go around those curves or those circles that you need to. You actually get more control. So make sure you use the cutter and really enjoy it. And you could sit down in front of the TV and cut out all your curved templates and just make sure that you have a nice table in front of you and you're just cutting. So I told you about the long ruler, that it's nice for strips because you can line up the top and the bottom. But as I was cutting, what if you had a strip that you needed to cut wider but it wasn't longer? That's where the 6.5 by 12.5 comes in. It gives you half of your mat. So now you don't have to line it up all the way up here, so it's going to be more accurate. You're using the center line here to cut. So use the 6.5 by 12.5. If you don't have it, it's a nice ruler to add to your arsenal of rulers. Now let's talk about these two. Okay, these are thinner and longer. I like this one for strips that go a little taller, but they're not quite as wide, okay? So if I had any strip that was less than 3 inches, then I would use this to cut, but it's not as tall all the way to the top. So I use this one all the time as well. At this one, I cut for my little teeny tiny pieces, my little squares, my little rectangles, my triangles, because it helps me mark it up. What I like about this one as well is that I can make this 1/4 of an inch and turn it this way and add. The holes help you line it up, make it more accurate for marking. So if you have a hard time lining up your 1/8 inch markings, your 3/8, your 5/8, your 7/8, these are good rulers to have. Yes, I do know that we have our 2 inches, so make sure that you're using the 2 inches on the side that you're not measuring with, and make sure you're using the right side that doesn't have it, but it just gives you the added extra of squaring everything up. You can go up and across, and I use all 3 sizes. So the bigger blocks, I'll use the 9.5 inch. The smaller blocks, the 6.5 inch. And like I said, I have them all out and they're all over the counter because I'm picking and choosing the ruler that works best for as I'm cutting the shape out. All right, last but not least, I wanted to just talk about making a template, okay? If you're running short on fabric, using half square triangles is probably not the best way to cut. So to make a template, cut out from a piece of paper your size square, and then from that, so let's just say we have a 6.5 by 6.5 inch square. What I'm going to do is just cut it and cut across, and I'm going to make it a 5-inch triangle, so a 5.5 inch triangle or something like that. I just wanted to show you how to make it into a template. So I'm just going and marking from side to side. That's my 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch, all the way around. And then I'm going to cut it in half. And by doing this, what you're doing is actually not wasting as much fabric. And make sure that your points match up as you're cutting it. And then use this as your template. It will save you on a lot of fabric. So as you're cutting, then you can just cut out your triangles, and then you're not wasting this extra half on your half square triangles. Now, if you want to cut off these points and make sure that the points aren't matching up, you could actually kind of cut it down this direction or this direction to make sure that it aligns with it. But use a template when the times that you need it. Don't waste any fabric if you don't need to or you don't want to. And actually there are a lot of pieces that I like to reuse in other projects. So by making templates on your own, all you need to do is cut the squares out and then add your 1/4 inch. Just make sure you're adding your 1/4 inch all the way around. That's really it on my tips and tricks for cutting and piecing, and I hope you found some inspiration for getting out there and starting to design your quilt. Go out there and look around. There's a whole world of inspiration out there on the internet. Come to graceframe.com for more inspiration. So join me for the second half of Baby Bear as I jump in and start talking about how I'm going to quilt it.
The Grace Community Quilt was designed and pieced by quilters who wanted to be a part of the 2024 grand opening but could not attend the in-person event.
We had just moved into our new building and it was beautiful. When you walked into the classroom, there's this huge white wall, just massive and bare and just kind of lonely. And talking to the ladies that were coming to our focus groups, there's a lot of joking about how we should have a retreat. We should all meet in one place and just meet each other face to face. Of course, that's a little bit difficult. The logistics are hard, and so I thought, what if we just had a way to bring a piece of everyone here to Grace Company?
So I decided the next best thing was to bring you all here by creating a community quilt.
And what if everyone was able to donate a block or a piece of one giant quilt that could fill that wall and bring in some warmth and some color, but also leave a piece of every member of the community here at Grace Company.
Alrighty, well, welcome everybody.
I had no idea how to get a community quilt put together. The logistics of it were beyond me, but I knew that we had quilters in our community who were very capable of making that happen. So I reached out to a couple of volunteers and pitched a half-baked idea and said, what do you think? And they were excited about it. They wanted to try, and they had immediately just had great ideas on how to make something really special for Grace Company.
Let's meet a couple of these volunteers and hear how they became a part of the Grace Company family and this project.
Hi, I'm Didi Concepcion. I live in Orlando, Florida. I started quilting during the pandemic just for something to do. I had never sewn 2 pieces of fabric together before. My mom was a sewer, not a quilter. I started on a very small machine and quickly learned about the Grace Company and the cutie frame, and then I upgraded to the 19X Elite, and now I have my Evolution Elite, and I am definitely a Grace company fan.
I go to the Houston International Quilt Festival as often as I can since it's pretty close, and that's where I met Grace. I love going to the festival because you get to play on all these different machines and frames and things, and that's where I started with my cutie frame. And then the last year that I went, I purchased the 19X Elite, and that's my baby. After I bought my 19X Elite, I think I wrote to Grace to let him know how happy I was with it and the whole experience that I had in Houston purchasing it. And in there I put that I would be very interested in joining any beta groups or any testing groups or anything like that. And shortly thereafter, I got an email to be invited to be part of this focus group. And that's where I met Dee Dee. And we've actually been to a quilting retreat together and spent time together in person, even though we live 5 states away from each other, which was fun.
Susan and I really hit it off in the group. And then when we met in person for the first time at that retreat, we really hit it off. And we sat right next to each other. And Susan and I, we giggled a lot.
What I would love is to have a quilt on this wall, so that anybody that comes in also gets to join your group, and you get to be here with them as well.
Well, I was intrigued when Jacqueline brought it up during one of our Zoom calls, just because I love the idea of all the ladies that we get together with weekly on these calls coming together to create something beautiful that exemplifies the home-based quilters, putting that together, and I just loved being asked to be a part of that.
I was excited when Jacqueline asked Susan and I to come together and come up with ideas for 3 different quilt blocks for the community quilt that she could ask members of the focus group to put together. And I loved the idea. It's a great community when we get together and do the focus groups. So to make a community quilt with blocks from everyone in our group was really exciting and fun. And I love to create blocks. I'm still learning myself how to make my own patterns. So it was a great opportunity to work on patterns and work with Susan.
Volunteer quilters were given a choice of 3 blocks to submit using their own fabrics and colors with a background of white and a block size of 12 inches.
The spool of thread we had seen, it was a free pattern on a website. I think the house, we had seen a few and we tweaked it so that it was good for our purposes. And then the sewing machine, it's actually, I tried to make it to represent a long arm, a Grace long arm. But because we were making smaller blocks, some people are calling it the Little Rebel. Some people are saying it's just a sewing machine, but it was supposed to really be a long arm for Grace long arm.
Dee Dee and I threw lots of ideas back and forth to each other. I tried, and I know she did too, we tried different patterns to exemplify sewing, quilting, pulling that all together. And I envisioned, and I think Dee Dee did too, the sewing machine, the spool of thread, and then coming up with something else. And when we found that home block, to me that just pulled it together and spoke about the home-based quilters. And one block that I made for the quilt was some special fabric that has the name of my granddaughter in it. And so I did make one block that has her name on it, on the fabric.
I thought that was Jacqueline's idea. She came up with the idea to put, she wanted to have the block truly represent the people in the focus group. So she asked everybody to either write with a fabric pen their names on the blocks, or if you could embroider your name on the blocks and where you're from, so that when it was up, everyone who came to the Grace Company and went into the room that saw it could see everybody that contributed to the quilt.
We received 90 blocks from all over the country.
So as the quilt was starting to come together, we started to get the blocks coming in. It was like Christmas every day, always a stack of envelopes of quilt blocks. And I would talk frequently to some of our team members in China, one of whom is Sophia, the director of operations, who's over our factory and all of the workers there. And I said, Sophia, you need to put a block in the quilt. We need a piece of you here all the time. Sophia picked her block, the one that she wanted, and she sent over some of her favorite colors. And I sent my daughter on a hunt, kind of played hide and seek looking for some fabrics, and she had a couple of different combinations and options. And we sent those pictures back to Sophia, and she gave thumbs up on the ones that she wanted. Our employees here pieced it together. We also did one for Charlotte. She's another one of our team members in China. Charlotte does a lot of our sourcing. So when we need to find materials or something for the products that we create, she goes out to the factories and finds those pieces. And so she did the same thing. She picked her fabrics, she picked the design, and our team members here quilted that block. And then we had another team member here who's very talented in calligraphy, and she put the names on those blocks in the Chinese characters to really represent who they are and what they mean to our company.
The first block was submitted by Jan Hansen, wife of our facilities manager, Devon.
Come on in. This is my sewing room. My first quilt I made when I was expecting our first child. And I was expecting a little girl, so I made a pink quilt. And I got it almost finished, and then I had my first boy. And I finished it with my second boy, and I used it on my third boy. We were getting ready to go on vacation, and I thought, I need to just get this done before I leave. And it was a paper piecing project, which I had never done. So I looked it all up on YouTube and learned how to do it, and I just hurried and did that. It was a real fun project for me just because it was something new to learn. And so I got it done before we left on vacation.
We asked Jan what she thought of being the first quilter to submit a block for the project.
I was surprised. I was really surprised. I thought everybody'd be as excited to get it done as me. So it was fun to be first.
We had a lot of special blocks submitted. Gail Wolkin and her granddaughter, Grace, worked on blocks for the community quilt together.
I just thought it was a great idea. I met a lot of people through the focus group of the Grace Company, and I just thought it was a fun, quick project, and we could be a part of something bigger than just doing quilts for ourselves.
Gail and her granddaughter both decided to make the spool of thread block for their contributions.
I just explained to her what I was thinking of doing, and I showed her the pattern for the spool of thread, that she liked it, and I gave her a choice of what kind of fabric she wanted to use, and we just went from there.
Gail is no stranger to volunteering her time and talent to quilting projects for the community.
I work with a group in Oregon called the Sandpiper Project, and it's a group that donates quilts to children who are battling cancer and other life-changing diseases in hospitals in that area.
It took several volunteers to put the pieces together.
So once I had all the blocks in a big stack on my desk, it was time to piece it. And so I cleared out the classroom and laid them all out on the floor and tried to find a good arrangement, some way to make that look nice. My OCD kept trying to find a way to make a nice pattern. And so just started putting it together. It took most of an afternoon. It was a labor of love, and it was just so wonderful to sit there and to touch every one of those pieces and to see the fabrics that were chosen and the colors that were chosen and the meaning that was put into each and every one of those blocks. It was just having a conversation with everyone who participated in this quilt, and I put that top together.
A couple of our amazing team members helped finish the quilt. Marie added the border and Lori hand-bound the entire quilt.
I so enjoyed quilting it when we had decided, or Jacqueline decided, that she would have someone at Grace sew the top together. I asked if I could quilt it, if she didn't mind. And then when she agreed, I was so excited. And then I asked her if she minded if I just did overall swirls swirls are my favorite thing to do. And she said, sure. So I quilted it with my cutie frame and the 19X Elite. It is a very large quilt. So at one point it got too heavy to move. So I would have to wait for my husband to be home to help me pick it up and move it from zone to zone because it was just too much. It was, when most of it was, because I float, well, I used to on my cutie. So when it was all on the floor, still hanging, it wasn't hard. But when the roll got bigger and bigger, it was very hard to move from side to side or at all, even to roll it up more. So I would wait for my husband to be home. So he would pick up one side, I'd pick up the other side, and we'd move it to the next zone.
Our very own Devon Hansen had the honor of hanging the community quilt.
One of the interesting things about hanging the quilt was the weight and the size. And so as I looked at it, I needed to get special brackets to hang a quilt of this size. And so in mounting those to the wall, and it required extra ones that I normally don't need to put up, I tried to lift it up and get it up with a ladder, but it was just too big and too heavy. So I got Michael, and we came in, and together with the scissor lift, we're able to lift it up and get it in the right position where it needed to be.
After we pieced the top and quilted the top and added an extra border and quilted that and then bound it, the final product ended up being a little over 9 feet by a little over 10 feet. And we hung it on the wall, and as soon as you walk into classroom 4, it's a showstopper. You just catches your eye and invites you to come into that space.
Oh, the community quilt.
Oh, wow. Nice. Oh, it came out so good.
My gosh, it's beautiful.
I thought it was huge. It's very big, and it looks really beautiful up on the wall. I was surprised at how many blocks there are on it. I thought it was wonderful.
Every time I see that community quilt, I feel grateful to know so many wonderful people and wonderful quilters. I'm reminded of the love they have for each other, for their family, for their communities, and their passion for this art form. And I am humbled by their willingness to share and their generosity in participating in creating this work of art.
Come see the Grace Community Quilt for yourself at our West Jordan, Utah facility.
Wow, that is amazing. That is just extraordinary. What a beautiful project. And thank you to everyone in the focus group and everyone who contributed a part of that beautiful quilt. It's just breathtaking and just wonderful, and the reason why we do this. Well, welcome back to our midday live section. That was so much fun. What an amazing lineup of segments and projects there. Oh my goodness. There was just so much there. I don't even know like which one was my favorite. Did you all have a favorite? Which one was your favorite project? What new notion or tool did you see that you learned something? What's something you learned and are going to try and implement? Share with us in the chat. So let's introduce Melinda. Are you there? Is joining us for our midday. Hi, how are you?
Kena, how are you?
I am doing well. I'm so inspired. There was so much there. I mean, I want to do them all. I want to do the T-shirt quilt. I want to do the shirt quilt. I loved all the show. I'm an old theater buff. So I loved seeing all of those show titles on the T-shirts and just so many amazing things.
Yes. You know, people, I say this all the time. People are so talented. And I look at things that I've made and, you know, compare that to what other people make. And it's like, oh, I don't know if I can show this to anybody, but it's so inspiring, you know, to see other people's projects. I have new inspiration to be able to finish a memory quilt. that I've been pondering for quite a few years now. So hopefully that's on my horizon. The cute little bag was awesome. I've loved today's segments.
I did too. Well, I'm sure you're going to share with us how we can. There were threads, there were cutters, there were rollers, there were, machines. Can you share with us like how can we get some of these things during this spring fling?
Yes. All right, so anybody can go to our website, graceframe.com. You can see all of our machines, all of our frames. We have excellent combo deals. We have our True Cut system. Anything and everything. Our automation. It's an easy, to use website. Lots of information. Right now, for orders over $100, there's free shipping. Light bars are 10% off. There's fantastic deals. And I also want to emphasize, aside from being able to purchase directly from Grace Company, we have a network of authorized dealers nationwide as well. So use those dealers. They're phenomenal, a great source of information, inspiration, and really it helps build a community of quilters where you are kind of having that single contact with those dealers. So utilize those dealers, look at our website, however you're comfortable, just take a look. That's all you have to do. So,
yes,
I love
that advice about using the local dealers as well, because a lot of times they can help set up your machine, and they offer free tutorials in shop. Many of them do, and then you can get also additional accessories, and they offer the same deals that's going on from the Grace dealership. So that's always a great way to go.
Yes. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So we've talked about so much today, Kena. We have the wonderful sales available on our website, also with our dealers. A little bluebird did tell me, though, that we have an awesome giveaway in this Midday Live. We're not quite ready to announce the winner. We'll be there in a few minutes. One thing I really want to emphasize, even if you have a dealer in your area, or maybe there's not a dealer in your area, take some time to register and join the Quilters Playground. It's a phenomenal opportunity to meet quilters, from all over the place. Great engagement. There's lots of tips and tricks, and Carla or any of our other educators, going over steps and processes, really to just make quilting an easier aspect for everybody to do. I've had the opportunity, to sit in on some of those events. And again, they're held twice a month in the evenings, 5 p.m. Mountain Time. So again, a great opportunity. Learn something new, make some new friends, and just be inspired with what everybody else is doing. And I'm gonna recommend to Jacqueline, I think it's time for another community quilt. What do you all say?
I say yes. That was beautiful. Absolutely stunning.
Yep, and seeing the quilts, online, pictures online, on video, really doesn't do it justice. It's huge, it's beautiful, just truly amazing. And look how many people are brought together. I love it, love it, love it. All right, so I just want to ask a few people in the comments, what have you been inspired to begin creating today from the segments we've watched so far? And Kena, I'm gonna kind of put you on the spot. What has inspired you for your next project?
Well, I haven't done a T-shirt quilt in a while. And so I really got excited about seeing Jenna's T-shirt quilt. So I think I want to get those T-shirts. I have them in a pile, and I'm going to cut them up and start, piecing them together and get those done. And I was also really inspired by the pouch project and piecing on the long arm. I've never done that. I've never pieced on the long arm. And it's such
that thought never like crossed my mind that it would be something you could or should do. I was amazed.
I'm like, oh my goodness, that 1/4 inch doesn't always need to be perfect.
Yes.
So, and then it's already quilted, and then you could make multiple. It just gave me an idea. You can make multiple little bags if you have the space on your long arm. Like you can do about 10 of those babies. So
Yes.
those were probably some of my highlight. And I love the bear quilt. Oh my God. Absolutely.
It was beautiful. Yes,
Can't
yes.
wait to see how that turns out.
Yes. Looking at the comments, there was a lot of emphasis on those T-shirt quilts. I've heard and seen things, just T-shirt quilts look intimidating. So, all right. I'm ready to start a memory quilt and a T-shirt quilt, but first, let's go ahead and announce our midday winner. So for today's giveaway, we are giving away an 84 pack of the new Finesse Classic thread. If you've used Finesse thread before, just remember this is our newest line. It's less linty. There's awesome extra beautiful colors that have been added to the lineup. So without further ado, let's go ahead and announce who the winner of our giveaway is. Again,
right.
Finesse thread, all 84 colors. So who is our winner?
Drum roll.
Yes, drum roll. All right,
Denise.
Congratulations.
All right, congratulations, Denise. That is so exciting. Oh, wow.
Yes, yes. I love the Finesse Classic thread. It's been amazing. The colors are beautiful, and I'm so happy, to be giving away the thread because I think thread is kind of an underrated product here at Grace Company. I absolutely love it, so I am sure Denise will love it. Denise, we have your registration information. Allegra will be reaching out to you, so keep an eye out for her email. Now, Kena, I know we have lots of things, more information to go over with later today. Anything else you think we should kind of preface our viewers with?
Yes, absolutely. Well, if you missed some of the segments, I saw some people coming in the chat a little bit midway through our first part of the day. The replays will be available immediately after our live stream today. So you can just go to YouTube and you can watch them. If there's anything you had to step away, you had to run to the restroom or whatever you had to do, you can go back, you can rewatch it. And also when you are ready to work on the projects, you can go back and work through them because who are we kidding? Am I going to remember everything? So they're available. So today's will be available after the live stream, and tomorrow's will be available after the live stream as well.
And then they will live on YouTube for forever, right?
And they will live there for perpetuity.
Yes, yes.
So for whenever you need them, they'll be there.
Yes. All right. Well, again, congratulations, Denise. I'm so happy for you. I love that we have such a huge, wonderful audience today. And I think we should go ahead and get right into our next segment.
Yes, absolutely. I'm looking forward to part 2 of the Carla's quilt, part 2. Let's see how Sabrina's. Oh, I forgot to mention Sabrina is making that. She was long arming the. What was it? It was like a duffel. Yes, a duffel. Yes. That's what it was. So she's going to long arm that. She's going to wrap that up. And then we're going to see some more cool projects. So let's jump into it, and then let's come back here for the final live because we have more giveaways. We have more. We're going to do some bingo, and we'll talk about what's coming up tomorrow. So I'm really excited. Sure,
All right.
Let's jump into it.
All right. Bye, everybody.
See you guys back here.
Okay, everybody, I'm excited to show you how I'm going to quilt this quilt. But I want you to recognize and notice something. Major no-no. Okay, Carla didn't measure quite correctly for her backing. So I will be adding a couple pieces to the sides right here and to the bottom. So I make sure that I have enough to accommodate that excess quilting and that fabric shrinkage. And it also shrinks more if there's a lot of dense quilting. So just know I'm going to be quilting in this area here so I can make sure that I can add to the sides right here. Err on the side of caution and add that little extra, okay? But notice how I've ironed him. He turned out really, really cute. I'm very happy with the way he turned out. He's fun, he's bright, he's bold, and he's just adorable. And I added the bear claw design right here, and this is where I used that fun print right here. And it makes it kind of fun and whimsical, and it adds those earth tone. And I wasn't afraid to bring in the blue on the bear. But notice I have a piece right here where I had to piece them together. That's okay, it happens. So I ran out of this blue fabric and I had to make it work in the moment. And this is where I used those templates, this long one right here. And I used the gray for the bear as the main part of his body. So this is how I'm going to quilt it. So you'll notice that here on the screen, this is a 21X Elite. It's an awesome machine. We've now added throat lights so that you have more light for this area. Now the lights are turned off because of filming. But if you have one of the older machines and your eyes are going, that light is so important. So more is always better when it comes to lighting. The next thing I want to talk to you about are the settings on your machine. So make sure your needle area brightness is up to the highest so that you can see it. And make sure that you have your screen brightness to where you need it as well so that you can see the buttons on the screen. We're in manual mode right now. I won't stay in manual mode, but I'm going to come over here to these three little lines on the screen. If you tap on that, that's where you can access the help guide and the settings. We are going to go into the settings, and now we're going to make sure our needle button is the needle up down. Okay, so the needle up down means that when you push the needle button on your handle, it will go down. And then when you push it again, it will come back up. If you had it switched over to a single stitch, it makes one full rotation. It goes down and it comes back up. Now, I want to make sure, because I'm going to be using some rulers, that my needle stop position is down. So make sure that you have your little button slid over to down. Make sure your overspeed is off. Then your overspeed light, we want to leave that on. Our edge warning sound, if you're using the edge warning in a ruler base, definitely, really, really important. And notice I don't have the ruler base on yet, so I'm just going to do a little bit of stitching in the ditch today to stabilize these center ones, and then just talk about my design. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about designing and changing your foot. Okay, so let's change our foot really quick, and let me show you how quick and easy it is to change your foot. So all you need is your 3mm Allen wrench, and I've done this so many times. You can either take your bobbin case out or unthread your needle, because your needle has to go down to the bottom position. So I'm just going to unthread my needle, all right? And that way I don't have to take my bobbin case out. And I'm going to quickly change this to precise mode, and I'm going to move it down to 11 stitches per inch. And I'm going to just take off this foot really quick. So I'm going to put my ruler foot on. All right, and I'm going to leave it laying against the needle plate. Put my needle in the down position. And now I'm going to get my little tool that I love, my foot height gauge, okay? So make sure you get your foot height gauge, and you're going to put it right underneath the foot. And now you can take your screw and just screw it back into place. Now I can just bring my needle back up, take this out, rethread my needle really quick, and then I'll bring it up really quick, and then I'm just going to use this little tool here to make sure that my threads don't get tangled, so I'm going to pull it out. I make sure I put my foot where I need it, and my foot height gauge and everything, so I'm putting them all down here with my scissors. Okay, let's talk about the belts really quick, and then I'm going to show you how to pull up your threads. And what you need to do is just loosen it out of both ends of here, right here. So notice how I unscrewed the bar right here. I'm just going to pull this out. Now you're going to use some tape to tape it down right here. And then I'm going to go to the back. All right, and all you have to do is loosen this belt. And I don't want you to take it out of both sides. All it needs to be doing is laying down on the ground. All right, now we've loosened our belts. Now we have free range and movement of our machine. Look at that. If I had left this one connected, it would pull back up in and impede my quilting and my movements and get caught, and it would be jerky, very, very jerky. And by loosening the belts, it took me not even a minute to do that. So, all right, let's talk about thread choices. Because I'm going to use mostly white, but in some of the areas on the gray, I'm going to use our silver color right here on the bear. And I'm not sure how much quilting I'm going to do right here. I might do some up downs to accentuate. I might also just kind of do some S's to accentuate the fur. In here on the background, I'm going to do some swirls. So now I'm going to use this green here. This is called Kelly green, okay? So I'm going to use it as well. And then I found one of our good old seaside teal. I thought that would be kind of fun. Variegated threads can really add something to your quilting. All right, let me show you quickly how to pull up the threads. And we're going to do some stitching in the ditch, and I'm going to talk to you about designs. These right here are templates of the blocks in my quilt, okay? So as you're quilting, I printed these out 8 by 8. I mean, they're obviously larger than that, but this will give me a good idea of what I want to do and how I want to quilt them out. So this one right here is this little, I want to call it the mountain, okay? So this is the green, and this is kind of snow top or snow cap. And so this is this block here. This is my little bear claw right here. So my little points in my bear claw, so that's this one. And this right here is an outline of my bear. So these, by printing these out, this will allow me to really kind of decide what designs I want to choose or what fillers. So as I'm quilting, this will help me know if I want to add a little bit of texture to the bear, or maybe I want to kind of leave him on his own and not do a lot to him. But I do know that I want to do some little spirals in the background because I think they're fun. I love spirals, you guys. And I'm going to call them closed. So notice how I come back in and I touch a point on it. And then if I want to turn another direction, then I can close that up and I can come back in here and fill that in. So just have fun with this and make it continuous. Go the different directions, come back. And then if I got caught right around here, I could just use this one to get back out and come this direction. So practice on paper first. That's really, really important. And see if you can make them the same size or close to the same size. And then maybe you might want to come back this point and then kind of bounce off and do this one. So that will be really fun around the bear. And the up-down movements, which would be really cool and a lot of fun, and the swirls to come in and out like this. Come back down, maybe it looks more like fur. We'll practice that, you guys, and make it a lot of fun and very whimsical. So I will show you that. Now for the borders, guess what? I'm going to use the automation. I love the automation with the borders, and it makes it very precise and accurate. What I want to do is do a little bear claw or trees or something like that for the border. It'd be a lot of fun. In this area right here, I want to make it look like mountains. So I'm going to use my ruler. I just want to show you how important it is to stitch in the ditch. Now, because I'm adding a little bit of extra onto the sides, I'm not going to quilt over in this area. So I want to make sure my quilting is. And you don't have to have your quilt too. You want to make sure that you're using your quilt clips, and I'm using the pink ones right here, which are back here, to stabilize it. Now this quilt's a little wider, and so make sure that you're overlapping, especially if you're quilting an edge-to-edge design using the automation. So I'm just going to quilt in this area right here for right now, and I just wanted to show you how easy it is to pull your threads up and down. And I can actually tack down the edges, and I'm going to tack down the edges right here because I'm not adding any up here. I will be adding some to the bottom and to the sides, and I will pull up my threads. See that single stitch? That was the needle up, down, okay? It wasn't the full stitch. So I'm just going to tack it down. How I'm using my fingers, I want to go right along the edge. And because I'm using a double layer, I just want to move across. Now this is your chance to check your stitching and see how pretty the stitching is. And see if the stitch length is the length that you want it. And I think it looks pretty good. Now when I'm thinking about stitch length, I'm also thinking about what if I'm free motion quilting, what if I make a mistake? How easy is it going to be for me to unpick that? So if you have teeny, teeny, tiny stitches, man, we probably shouldn't be thinking of that, but that's always in the back of my mind. And as I'm moving across, I'm not going to go all the way across because remember, I am adding something to this edge here. But this is going to give me enough stability right here so I can quilt. So, okay, I started it. Now I'm going to pull up my bottom thread. So just pull it up. See, I'm hanging on my tail. I pulled it away to make a tail on top and a tail on bottom. Now I moved it back to where I stopped. And now I'm just going to pull my thread up. I didn't let go of that. And then I'm just going to clip it with my scissors. So one thing of free motion quilting that's really important, you guys, and I didn't understand how important it is to stitch in the ditch. Stitching in the ditch really stabilizes the blocks and keeps it from shifting and moving. So if you're doing specialty blocks that are larger and bigger and you want the automation to work really well, and where you placed it, you want it to stay placed, make sure you're stitching in the ditch, stabilizing your block. So I'm just going to stitch in the ditch just with this one little block right here, okay, by stabilizing it. So I would stabilize along here. This is along the border, okay, stitching in the ditch, and see, by stabilizing this, it's not going to shift and move. It's already attached to the backing and the batting. Really, really important as you're working your way down and across your quilt. Now, it's not necessarily necessary if you're quilting using the automation or an edge-to-edge design. You don't need to do that. Okay, you do need to tack down the edges so that if you sew off the edges and you come back, it doesn't fold over and make a little wrinkle in your top. All right, so let's just kind of play and have fun stitching in the ditch, and I'll just show you needle up, needle down. Okay, so I do want to secure my threads, and as I'm quilting, and I should have the ruler and the ruler base, but I'm just going to kind of come down and just stitch in the ditch. And I notice that as I stitch in the ditch, okay, as I stitch in the ditch, how now this seam is secure and it's not going anywhere, okay? And so as the quilt, as the machine is moving across it, it's a hopping foot for a reason. It hops along, but it does make our fabric move and shift. So secure the blocks that you need to. Think about it. Think of what you need to tack down and as you're quilting, and then just have fun. Now, I will come back and show you what I did in the last little bit when I get this quilted, because I want you to see and know. But I have had so much fun creating this quilt. And the ruler is really important for you to use as you're coming at an angle because it really does help stabilize it. If I was going to come down, I'd have to move a little slower. And that's one of the reasons why I loosened the belts and took them out. All right. Thanks for joining me. I can't wait to show you my finished quilts, both of them. I'm really excited, and I hope that you've gleaned some inspiration of how to quilt, how to venture out and start designing, creating your own designs, and making more of you using your quilts and piecing and quilting, because we love the craft, we love doing it, and I love that you're doing it with us here at Grace Company. Thanks. Have a good day. We'll see ya.
Welcome to Spring Fling. I'm Jackie Marks, and today I'm going to show you how to make this retirement wall hanging. I used old military uniforms, but you can use whatever you have. Let's get started. You'll need some kind of uniform to cut up. Of course, it doesn't have to be a military uniform. There's lots of different career fields that wear the same thing every day. Any uniform or costume will work just fine. About 1/4 yard of contrasting fabric, unless you're making your project much larger, then you'll want more than that. And I'm using about 1/2 yard of a fusible web. I like Heat and Bond Light. You'll also need some kind of marking tool, as well as all your regular sewing supplies like an iron, matching thread, seam ripper, and all that good stuff. Our first step is going to be to deconstruct these uniforms into nice, flat, usable pieces of fabric. And I do want to make sure to tell you to check with your service member first. Make sure you're not breaking any rules, cutting this up and reusing it for anything, and make sure it hasn't been treated with any harmful chemicals. So I'm just going to use my regular fabric scissors to cut off anything really bulky, like this wrist cuff. I'm just doing a small wall hanging, like a mini quilt, so I think this back panel piece is going to be big enough to use as my background fabric. But if you want a much larger piece, don't forget you can cut it into smaller squares and patchwork it, and that would be really cute too. My next step is to trace the name that I want in the font that I want onto my fusible web. I have a sewing projector that I'm using for this purpose, but you can also print out the letters and make it as big as you want, or you can just draw them by hand. Once I've determined that this is the size I want my letters to be, which I did by laying my background piece out right here, then I can trace them onto the Heat and Bond. Now there is a paper side of the Heat and Bond that you would normally use for tracing, but that would create a mirror image of these letters, and I don't want that. So I'm tracing on the bumpy side of the Heat and Bond today. So I've traced it one time down here. That's going to be for my camouflage fabric, but then I need to trace it again in a contrasting fabric to make these letters stand out from the background fabric. And I want them to be a little bit bigger so they stick out around my background fabric, like I showed you in the sample in the beginning of the video. So I'm going to use a ruler and add about 1/4 of an inch to the perimeter of all of my letters here when I trace it the second time. Once I have all my letters traced onto my fusible web, I'm going to use some paper scissors to cut around those lines that I just made. I'm going to do a detail cut right now. And if you've seen me do this tutorial before, you know I usually do the detail cut later. But when I fuse this onto my fabric, because my markings are on the wrong side of the Heat and Bond, I might not be able to see them if I don't cut them out right now. So let's go ahead and do it now. Once your letters are cut out of your fusible web, it's time to iron them down onto your fabrics. The skinny letters are getting ironed down onto your main fabric, and the wider letters are getting ironed down onto your contrast fabric. When you iron these down, you want the bumpy side or the shiny side to be down on the wrong side of your fabric. So here's my right side. I have the wrong side up. And I'm going to position my letters on my fabric here. Let's see if I can fit them all on one piece. And they are going to look backwards to you right now. That's what you want. I have my iron nice and hot and ready to go, but the steam is turned off. I don't want to introduce that moisture into the adhesive here. I'm just going to very gently lay the iron down. I don't want to move it too much because I don't want these papers to slide around on me. Just kind of slowly move the iron over the fusible web without pushing or dragging. I don't want to push, at least not yet, because I want these to go down nice and flat without getting folded or distorted in any way. Then I can go back over and give them a little bit more prolonged heat, just to the count of like 5, to make sure that glue really melts. This is not like a fusible interfacing, this is melting glue. We want it to be really, really stuck. Then I'm going to let it cool. When it's cool to the touch, I'm going to take my fingernails and just kind of run them around the edges of these papers to make sure I can't get underneath it, to make sure I can't peel it up off the fabric. And that will tell me that everything is really stuck down where it needs to be. Now some of these corners, yeah, I might want to hit the corners again with a little bit more heat. And that's fine. Take your time. It might take you a couple tries. Then we'll do the same thing with our contrast fabric. I'm using a solid black, so it doesn't really matter which side of my fabric I use. But if you're using a print, you want to make sure you have the wrong side up. Once everything is nice and stuck and fused down, you're ready to cut the fabric. Now, you're going to cut these letters out of the fabric. If your paper scissors will accurately cut fabric, you can use them here if you're scared of cutting the fusible web with your fabric scissors. But I have a pair of fabric scissors that I have relegated to this specific use. So I'm okay with my fabric scissors for this today. So there's my letter M cut out of camouflage fabric. Now I'm just going to repeat that for all of my letters here. Now that your hand is nice and sore, we're ready to start assembling. I'm going to put my background piece down here on my ironing board. It measures 16 by 22 if you'd like to make the exact same size that I'm making. So I do want to make sure I get all those wrinkles out. I'm going to press this in half so I have a crease in the middle. And then press it in half the other way so I know where my center point is. And that way I can make sure my letters are centered on the piece. Okay, now I'm going to remove the paper backing from the letters. And when I do this, I should be able to see the shiny stuff that's left on the fabric. If your shiny stuff is coming off on your paper, you need to try to refuse the glue to the fabric. But that's exactly what I want, is a shiny piece of fabric. Now that is glue on my fabric, so when I put it down here, I can iron it again and it will be stuck to my background piece. So let's remove all of the papers from my contrast pieces. And I'm going to arrange my contrast pieces on my background piece here. I'm going to use a ruler to make sure they're nice and straight across the bottom and the top. And once you're happy with the placement of your background pieces, you can iron these down. Okay. Those are good to go. They're not going anywhere. They're nice and stuck. And now we can do the same thing for our camouflage letters. So let me go ahead and tear the backing, or just peel the backing off my letters here and make sure they're nice and shiny on the back. Okay, now I want to center my camouflage letters on my black letters. Look how cool that looks. I'm really happy with that. Okay, and now I can iron these down as well. Okay, I'm making sure those are nice and stuck, and they are. They're not going anywhere. So now we're ready to go to the sewing machine. When I do machine applique, I like to use this zigzag, and then I go in and I change the length and the width. So I'm gonna make it wider. I want it 4 millimeters wide, and then I want it much shorter so I get more of a satin stitch. I like 0.6. So you can start anywhere you like, but I like to start in the middle of a long side. I don't want to start at a corner or a weird intersection like that. So I'm going to lower my needle down, and I want it to go into the black fabric right next to the camo fabric. If it lands in the camo fabric, it's going to pierce right at the edge there and make it fray, and I don't want that. So we're going to go needle down in the black fabric and then take a few stitches before moving that extra thread out of the way. Okay, and then just keep going. When I stop on a corner, I want my needle down on the right side of the zigzag on the outer corner of my M here. Then I'm going to lift the presser foot and pivot the piece. And then sew down the next side. When I get back to where I started, I'm going to overlap by a few stitches. Okay, I've overlapped about 2 or 3 zigzags, and then I'm going to back stitch 2 or 3 zigzags. And then cut the thread, and I'm done with that letter M. There's my letter M. I'm just going to do the same for all of the other letters. Now, if you didn't want to use this as a wall hanging and you were going to make a pillowcase or a placemat or a tote bag or something that will need to be washed a lot, you would want to do this stitching for your black background fabric too. I mean your black contrast fabric. But because I know I'm hanging this on a wall, it's not going to get washed a lot. I'm not worried about the black fabric fraying. I'm going to leave it just like that and only stitch down the camouflage letters. Once your appliques are all stitched down as much or as little as you want, you are ready to quilt. I am going to be using my long arm to quilt this. It's the Qnique 21X Elite from Grace Company, but the design I'm going to show you is really easy to do on a domestic machine, so no worries there. Okay, I'm all loaded on the long arm here. I'm using precise mode, and I'm going to use my True Cut ruler foot and my True Cut ruler, which snaps into that ruler foot like that. And I'm going to make some straight lines part of the way down to the letters. I'm going to do that all the way across, but at all different lengths. I think that might be kind of fun. Okay, now I'm ready to bind my wall hanging just as I would any other quilt. So I've got my 2.5 strip folded in half here, ironed in half, ready to be machine sewn onto the perimeter of my, what's basically a mini quilt. she is, all finished. Cute, right? Again, I'm Jackie Marks. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that this inspires you to make your own retirement wall hanging.
Hi friends, and welcome back to Spring Fling. Today we're going to talk about how to make this awesome and fun quilted duffel bag. It opens up on the top here and it has some cute little internal pockets. Comes out so you have a nice shoe storage space. We'll swap heels for sneakers and get ready to go. So the first step is going to be to cut out all of your pieces and round those corners. So I have pre-done that on several of our pieces here, and we are just gonna pull these out. And we're gonna start with the bottom. So all we're gonna do is attach these pieces here to each of these sides to create a nice little round boat shape. So let me show you how you do it. We're gonna start here by putting our pieces right sides together, and we're gonna match up our end pieces like this. And I'm gonna backstitch at the top and end so that it gets extra secure. And you can see here with the rounded corner that all we're gonna do is just slowly bring this and pivot it as we go. Just as I'm going, I'm keeping this edge fully straight on the 1/4" line of my stitch plate. And then I am just rotating the piece as needed so that they come together just like I would with any other curved piecing. Just take it slow and simple. Just a couple stitches at a time as you're pivoting that piece. And we're gonna backstitch and go all the way off. So that's one side. Now we've just gotta do the other one. So you can see where I wasn't exactly accurate on my measurements, and that's okay. All I'm gonna do is just trim off where it doesn't align. So we'll grab my 3x8 ruler here, line it up, make it simple here, and we're just gonna trim that right off and toss it behind us. So now we have our little boat shape, and this is gonna be the bottom of our bag. Now I'm gonna take some 2.5" binding, and I'm just gonna measure out how much I'm gonna need for either side and show you a fun technique that'll make your life so much easier. So for this, you're gonna need either a glue stick or some wet glue. I prefer the glue stick just because it's easier for me. We're just going to make a simple line right across one panel of our binding here. So I'm just gonna finger press that down so it's nice and straight. And you just want the raw edge to line up with that middle fold. And then I'm gonna fold it in half again so I don't lose that center fold. And we're just going to tack that down. So now our binding is ready to attach. Again, we're gonna start at this top corner here, and we're just gonna fold our bag kind of how we had it before so that this edge is flush. And then we're gonna attach the binding to this raw edge here. So it's gonna be raw edge to raw edge, and then we're ready to sew. And I'm just gonna go down this edge here, and then we're just repositioning our fold as we go down the bag here. All right, make sure you're tacking down those edges there and back stitching at the front and back. And then let's do the other side as well. Now we can trim our tails here. And now we're ready to go ahead and fold this over. All I'm gonna do is fold it in half here and then fold it right over that raw edge and clip it into place. We're gonna do that all the way around that edge of the bag and clip as many pieces as you need to, because it's better to have too many clips than not enough. All right, so same thing as before. We're gonna stitch in the ditch right here where our binding is. I'm gonna make sure my clip container is right next to me so I can drop those in when they're done. Looks like we got it 100% on. I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side. So So now my bottom is ready to attach some zipper to it. This one I have pre-assembled, so you just want to follow the measurements in the bag pattern. And I want to make sure that my hinge point is centered in the back of my bag. So I'm just going to hold it like this. So I know that where this flower print is, that is going to be my hinge point. So I'm going to go ahead and clip away until my zipper and my hinge are fully clipped in here. So I'm putting my zipper teeth down on the inside of my boat, which is actually the outside of my bag, but this just makes it easier to sew. And you'll need to move your zipper pulls along as you go, and don't forget to put your zipper pulls on. So we're gonna go ahead and stitch this on, and I wanna make sure that my hinge joint is nice and secure because it's gonna have a lot of tension on it. So we are gonna stitch over that a few times. And then just make sure you're consistent with which direction you put your binding piece so that it's sticking the same way on both sides so you don't have a twisted bound piece. And at this point, I am gonna go ahead and adjust my zippers. So I'm gonna back stitch where I'm at a little bit, front stitch, pull it off, and I'm gonna put my zippers where I've already sewn. So we'll move those poles over and then we can keep stitching. And now we can add our binding. This binding is gonna go right over this raw edge and it'll flip up when our zipper does. I'm gonna extend my thumb and forefinger as far as I can apart, and that is about how much overhang I'm gonna need. And then we can put it under the machine and start our sewing. And then we're just gonna cruise along until we get to the other side. So I've made it over that corner, so I'm gonna go ahead and back stitch, make sure it's super tight there. And then I can pull it out, trim my tails, and here's the fun part. We're gonna lay it out here, and I'm gonna overlap my binding like this. Now I've got my flat piece of binding just like this. I'm gonna go ahead and align it with the edge of that raw edge of binding. And then I'll go ahead and lay down the other finished edge right on top of it, and I can trim where it meets. So I'm gonna finger press to get a nice little seam there, and then we'll just trim that off. Now what I'm gonna do is open up that little piece of glued edge and fold down the piece that was raw. We're gonna clip it together so it stays nice and secure. And now we are ready to stitch across. So we're gonna stitch from this pink clip right here all the way across to that orange clip. We're gonna go from corner to corner here. So I'm gonna start in that corner there, do just a couple stitches, back stitch, and then I'm gonna make sure that the corner is on that center line of my extension table. And just like that, we've got our piece. We'll go over to our iron, make sure it's pressed open so that we don't have very much bulk. And because we are using a metal zipper, you don't have to worry about melting the teeth. All right, so we're just gonna press that down, make sure it's nice and flat. And again, with that splash fabric, you don't have to worry about melting the laminated cotton either. We'll go ahead, lift our needle up, and just stitch over that area, making sure that our hinge is nice and secure. All right, and we're gonna stitch all the way around, and we'll meet you back here once that's done. And now we're gonna talk about the top. I have here our zipper panel. You can see it's just really simple. You attach these two together with the zipper, and then you bind both edges of the zipper so you have a finished inside edge. And we want this to be only 8 inches wide. So now we're gonna go ahead and attach our zipper stops. And I'm just gonna use my binding pieces from before. A piece like this can just be slid right there where my zipper is. And then we're just gonna attach one of our panels to each end so that way we can have a full top. And real simple, we're just gonna go ahead and stitch at our 1/4 of an inch. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. And same as before, we're gonna add binding to each of these raw edges, and we'll be right back. So now that we have our top piece completed, we're ready to attach them to our front and back panels. So similar to how we did our bottom piece here where we made a boat, we're gonna do the same thing with this piece. So we'll go ahead and we're gonna make sure that our ends are touching, and we're gonna stitch and pivot this all the way around just like we did last time. And I just wanna make sure that the bound edge is folded down so that way it's nice and straight as we go across. So now, just like before, we're gonna go ahead and bind our edges to make sure that those nasty raw edges are out of the way and out of sight. Now, we're gonna use our handy dandy glue stick again to help tack it down. Now we're good to go ahead and stitch this binding on. All right, we've finished our top piece. So now we're going to go ahead and attach our top, our bottom, and our divider together. So we're gonna go ahead and flip our bottom inside out. This is gonna be the outside of our bottom. We just wanna make sure that everything is gonna go together the way we want it to. So I've got my divider that I'm gonna put in here, and then the top of our bag we're gonna leave inside out because we're gonna stitch it together like this. So all these layers are gonna come together at once, but first I wanna make sure that my divider is nice and tacked down. And I'm just gonna put a little clip in so I know that's my middle on both sides. And then we'll do the same on this edge as well. So we've got our points there. Now we're gonna do the same thing on our divider. So now I can clip my pieces together like this. And we just want to make sure that our 4 key points are together in the right spots. Now we're ready to start stitching. So it's going to be tough to kind of get it underneath of there, but once you do, it's a nice, easy sew. And we're just attaching this to the edge of our zipper here. And now that I've got it under here, I can go ahead and remove those extra clips. Where I'm at right now is a good place to move my zippers. So just lift up your bag, kind of move those guys around. There we go. All right, now we're ready to put our bag all the way together. You want to make sure that your zipper is all the way extended, so that way you don't accidentally sew over any of it. And remember to make sure that your top needs to be inside out so that you can have right sides together. All right, now that we've got everything clipped into place, we're ready to sew. All right, we made it. Now we're gonna go ahead and add that last bit of binding. So I'm gonna go ahead and clip everything into place, and then we'll be good to go. So we'll go ahead and slide everything under the machine, make sure it's nice and tight in there. All right, there we go. Now we can trim it, fold it over, and we'll be ready to turn out our bag. So our binding is all attached, and now we're ready to turn it outside. All we're gonna do is flip it out just like this, and voila. I'm gonna pop my corners on the top of my bag here, and then we're gonna pop the corners on the bottom of the bag as well, and
it's all put together. It's ready for any adventure you want to take it on. Thank you so much for joining us on this fun segment of Spring Fling. Don't forget to keep watching for more quilty content, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Grace Company YouTube channel so that you can keep updated on all of our fun quilting projects. See you next time.
Hi, I'm Angelique, and I'm going to show you how you can make this adorable ring bearer pillow for your special occasion in your wedding colors. For this project, you're going to need a fat quarter, some satin, some white fabric, pleather, 7 buttons for the ribbon that you're going to need for tying up the rings. Our fat quarter is to make these outside petals, and for that you are going to need 6 5.5 squares, which I have pre-cut. The white fabric is going to make these inside pieces. It's also going to be your lining for the inside of the centerpiece, and we're also going to use it for the outsides in order to make the pillow square. Some of the true cut that we're going to be using for this project today, we're going to be using the kite ruler, our 60-degree ruler, a couple of square rulers, and I always like to have a nice linear ruler. So let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and start with this one in terms of cutting. What we're going to do is we're going to make a hexagon shape for the center of our pillow. You're going to take your kite ruler. Your kite ruler is made up of 3 angles. Your first is this 120 angle that you see here. You have a 90-degree angle that's here, and then you have your 60-degree angle that's here. We're going to be focusing for this part on this angle here. So on the 120 angle, I'm going to line up one of them evenly with the edge of my fabric. I'm going to hold that, and then I'm going to cut along the edge here that is not aligned with the fabric. Then I'm going to swivel, lining up what was previously lined up to the edge of the cut that I just made, and I'm going to cut this edge again. All right, I've got that cut. I'm going to swivel it again. Swivel again, straighten out your satin anytime you need to. It is slippery stuff compared to cotton. And that gives us our hexagon for the center. That's all we're going to need the satin for, so I'm going to put that away. Now, satin is kind of delicate, so I'm going to cut a hexagon out of my white cotton as well. For the outside of the pillow, you're going to need some strips. So I have cut, this is 1 by 10. I'll need 2 of those. And then we need to make some of these right angle triangles that you see up here. You're going to start by cutting 2 at 6.5 inches. For every 6.5 inch square, you'll be able to cut 2 of these. I lined up on the 8 that is here, and then I'm going to cut all the way across. So that gives me 1, and then I'm just going to flip it around so I get another corner edge, line it up again, and just cut. So I'm just going to set those aside because we'll use those more at the end. The next part is going to be these white inside triangles. So I made these out of a set of 2 60-degree triangles that I sewed together and flipped out. So I need 6 total. I have 4 made. And so I'm going to line up at the 4.5 mark, and I'm just going to cut that. We're going to put right sides together, and we're going to sew a 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to go to the machine and sew that. And we're going to sew down 2 sides, again 1/8 of an inch. Next, we're going to clip the top where the 2 sew lines come together, being careful not to cut the actual stitches. And then we're going to turn right side out. We want to push our point out. We want to be careful because it's only 1/8 of an inch, so we don't want to push too hard, but we want to get a decent point. Now we need to press them. What I like to do is I like to take my little piece of wood here, and I like to first slide it along the edge, and then I'm going to press. And then do the same thing on the other side. Press that seam out a little bit so it's nice and even. Let's talk about our outside petals. We will also need 6. And then for this look, we're actually going to fold the fabric. First, we're going to fold on the diagonal, bringing wrong sides together. And then we're going to press really well. Fold again, and we're going to press really good there as well. Open these back up, flip it. Doesn't matter which way, but now we're going to fold it in half. And now when we do this press, I don't want to lose this point, so I'm not going to iron over that point. So now we're going to start to pull this in, right? So this is going to bend inwards. That will then bend this way. Then this will help bend this way. And then my next crease will create that final point. And then we're gonna, again, press really well. And then to really help that hold its shape, I'm gonna throw a clapper on it. All right, so we're gonna let those cool, and while we're letting those cool, I'm gonna head over to the machine because I need to baste together my 2 hexagons to prepare them for making the flower. So let's go do that. So all I've done is I've layered the wrong side of the satin to the white, and I'm going to do a basting stitch. All right, now we're ready to start putting our petals on. To do this, we're going to start with the white petals, and we are going to clip them on so that they are even between each corner of your hexagon. Next, we're going to clip on the top petals that we folded. Those should line up to the actual corners of each of the flat edges of your hexagon. With those clipped in place, we're going to go back to the machine and sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way around. Now you have a lot of layers here, so go slow, be patient, and make sure you keep your corners down as you come around. Any dog ears that are sticking out, let's go ahead and just give those a little clip. We're now ready to start squaring this up. To start with that, we're going to need those 4 right triangles that we cut. I'm going to fold one over, making sure that I have some overlap on both corners. And I can actually clip 2 of these, but I can't clip the other 2 because we're going to have a little overlap sewing that happens. And then we're going to sew our 1/4 inch, and then we'll fold those over and sew the next one. All right, so I'm going to sew the first 2 down, and we can do a true 1/4 inch seam allowance. So we're going to press our white triangles over, being careful that we don't hit the satin underneath with the hot iron. We're going to trim off the excess. We're going to add our 1-inch strips to the point side where we just added the white triangles. And then once we get these sewed down, we'll add the 1.5 ones. Again, 1/4 inch seam allowance. So now I'm ready to add the 1.5 inch strips to the other sides. All right, so right now all of our petals are a little flat beam. So this is where we're going to add our buttons, and we're going to place each button and sew those to this petal here. So to do that, you are going to have to hand sew. So you'll just double up your thread, create a knot, and kind of feel for where you want your button to start. And then these buttons are a little bit different, and so you're just going to go through that. Then I'm going to go back very close to that previous hole, and that's going to add our button, which is going to help hold most of that down. So I'm just going to continue to add those, and when I get done with that, then I will show you how to do the center part. Next is going to be adding the ribbon for the ring bearer. So for this one, we're going to need about 17 inches. Fold it in half and just crease it really good. And then take your needle with your thread. I'm just going to do my best to find the center, and I can bring that up, and I can put the needle through the center of my ribbon. Then I'm just going to take one stitch through just to kind of help me hold it in place. And then I'll come back through again, and then I'm going to add my button. And so this button has one of these types where it just loops through, and just sew that securely on. So that's on there. We can add our rings. So I'm just going to kind of tuck these out of the way for now, set this aside, and we're going to work on getting the back ready of our pillow. All right, for the back, you're going to use the pleather, and you're going to cut 3 different shapes. They're all going to be 11 3/4 in length. The largest one is going to be 9.5 in width. This one is going to be 7 in width, and then this one's going to be 3 in width. So what we're going to do is we're going to finish off some edges. So I'm just going to fold, it doesn't matter which side, but I'm going to fold one of the long sides over and just clip it in place. Now, pleather is not the same thing as leather, basically a type of plastic. So I can't iron this. So that's why I'm just gonna push it over to create a finished edge. Then to the shortest of the rectangles, I'm gonna fold it in half right sides together, lining up that edge, and again, just clip it in place. So we're going to take the 2 edges that we folded over, and we're going to top stitch that fold down. Now, pleather can be a little sticky when it's trying to go through your machine. So I'm going to use the paper trick, and that's just going to help it slide easier so I can do my top stitching and not get it stuck on the metal. And then we're just going to carefully tear away the paper from the stitching in the back. For the 3-inch one that we folded over, we're just going to sew our seam allowance to close that tube up. I like to backstitch on one side because we're going to turn this tube out, and this will just help secure those stitches a little bit easier for me as I turn it out. Once I get it turned out, I'm going to line up the edge that has the seam so it's nice and straight. And then I'm going to do some top stitching on both sides to secure that. And this is what's going to make the handle that we're going to put in the back of the pillow. So now we're just going to line everything up so that it is going to fit the size of the pillow that we need. This is going to be the top, and this is going to be the one that tucks inside. And then I'm going to add the strap to the center part. And then I'm just going to clip my edges in place, and I'm going to baste these long parts together. This is going to be the top part. So when we place our front of our pillow, when I do it right sides together, I want to make sure that that heart is facing upwards. Clip things in place. For this one, we're going to sew 1/4 inch all around the edge. So for this, because of the pleather, I like to sew with the cotton side down. Since this is a custom size, I did decide to make my own pillow insert. It's really easy. I took some of my leftover white fabric. I cut it 12.5 by 12.5, and then all you have to do is sew 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch, and you're gonna sew one side slightly open. Clip the corners just like we're going to do with our pillow top, being again careful not to actually cut the stitches. Turn it inside out. You turn it inside out, you stuff it, and then you're going to iron it so it's closed on the inside, and then you just hand sew to stitch it closed. So let's go ahead and turn our pillow cover right side out. I like to make sure to get those corners out where those seams are so that it'll look really good. Be careful because the pleather, you could poke through it since, like I said, it's a type of plastic. And let's put our pillow in there. same thing. I like to get the corners of my pillows in there and the corner of the cover. Now you're ready to add your rings. Make a nice bow. Your rings are secure and you've got the strap on the back. All you now need is your cute little grandson or niece or nephew to carry the pillow down the aisle. If you would like to make this pillow, we do have instructions for you with all of the measurements and what you need to make it. You'll definitely find it on our events page. I hope you enjoyed this. Please keep watching Spring Fling for more fun ideas to help commemorate your life in quilting.
We're here at a work day at Grace Company. All of these quilts were donated and we're making binding and trying to finish them as fast as we can. We have some ironing stations, some machines set up, and as we trim the quilts, we'll bind the quilts. This is the binding station. So far, Carol's the only one binding. I'm helping her a little bit. At Wrap the World with Quilts, we get lots of quilt donations, and occasionally we get people who send us quilt tops, and we just don't have time to finish all of these quilts. So when Grace Company approached us and said, hey, let's do a long arm day and get a bunch of these done for you, that was amazing. A lot of these quilts will be going to LA fire victims. A quilt is something that you can wrap around someone and keep them warm, but it also says, I see you, I see the difficult situation that you're going through, and I made this handmade gift for you. Number 2, already done. Woo! We provided the quilt tops and the backings and the bindings. Grace Company provided the batting and set all of these quilts up on about 12 of their machines. And then we had people that volunteered to help with the bindings and trying to get 40 quilts done, and I think we're gonna do it. This is my friend Terry. She's not too busy to come on a Saturday because she only works full-time, goes to school full-time, and has a quilting business. So thank you, Terry, for dedicating some of your time here on a Saturday to help Wrap the World with Quilts.
When you meet Gina, she exudes joy, she exudes warmth, and she exudes goodness.
Fueling on Diet Dr. Pepper or Diet Coke, it's what quilters do.
And she truly takes the gratitude that I know that she has seen and felt from people in Ukraine, in Poland, and other war-torn places or places that have had natural disasters. And she takes that, internalizes it, and then shares it. And you feel that, you know that when she's handed over a quilt to a mother or a child and they're crying and she sees just the emotion that comes from that, why would somebody think of me around the world to do this for me? And she brings it back and she shares it. And I am an emotional wreck usually when she's sharing a story, because you just feel that and you know that they're appreciative and she's so appreciative, and it grows and it makes you want to give more as she just gives that feeling to everyone.
All of your extra bobbins that we are using, pre-wound bobbins for right here.
We actually started as Wrap Ukraine with Quilts because that was our primary focus, and decided to change our name to Wrap the World with Quilts so we can pivot to wherever the need is. And we've been able to do that when they had flooding in North Carolina, the fires that happened in Maui, the fires that happened in LA. We've sent them to the Navajo Nation. We've been able to pivot to wherever a natural disaster, famine, political strife, or whatever happens, that we can send quilts. This is Janine. She is a quilter, but she also does the accounting at Wrap the World with Quilts and is one of our longtime supporters. Helped us find our location to live in. We got filmed on a show called Making Good because she's one of the producers of the show. She's just an all-around good gal.
I actually read a newspaper article about Wrap the World with Quilts, and then I ran into Gina at a quilt show in Sandy, and we just started talking, and she mentioned she needed space, that she was running this out of her home, and I was like, my husband has a building and the basement is empty right now, so let me ask him, because they haven't leased it out and maybe you could use some of it. And they moved into my husband's building, his business. They're letting them use space there, and yeah, it's just gone from there. We'll get full quilts donated, or sometimes we get quilt tops. Some people send blocks. So this is really unusual and a huge, huge help, because we've got a lot of quilt tops that need to be quilted, but we have limited volunteers and limited time. And there's about 5 people that are regularly there. None of them are paid either. It's all volunteer. So everything that gets donated goes into the quilts and into shipping and into just keeping it going. And yeah, I can't even tell you what a huge blessing it is that you guys did this today and we're able to get all these quilts done, and just knowing that they're going to people who it makes a difference. I was talking to Gina earlier, just each quilt that is made touches someone's life. It takes a long time to make a quilt. It's not like you just sit down in an hour and you're done. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. And to see these beautiful works of art that people send to us, to me, is just heartwarming, and going, okay, people are really good and they care about others and want to help. Like, it gives me a lot of faith in humanity.
To be able to make a quilt for somebody, you're thinking about that person that you're making that quilt for, whether it's a new grandbaby or a wedding gift or a graduation gift or for a refugee in Ukraine. You're thinking about that person on every seam that you're making. So when you're finished with this quilt, to be able to hand it off to them, they know that somebody cared about them, probably for many hours, because these quilts take a long time to make. Some of the quilts that we get donated are show quality quilts that probably took months, if not years, to make. Other ones are fleece blankets and tied blankets, but they all are so meaningful.
So if you go from right here,
the community itself, out in that room, you have young people, you have old people, you have experienced people, you have brand new quilters, you have people who are designers, you have people who have never stepped into a quilt shop before, out there helping and working together. And someone doesn't know how to do something, someone jumps over and says, oh, this is how you do it. I learned how to put a binding on the machine on Thursday, and I'm out there doing it today. And that's because someone taught me how to do it at a meeting I had on Thursday night with the Modern Quilt Guild. This is my friend Gigi. She's the president of the Salt Lake Modern Quilt Guild. And she's recruited some members from the guild to help us, and they're having a sewing day over there. And she's a long arm quilter and donated her time to help us finish quilts for After Your Week Quilts.
Happy to do it.
Yep.
Today is a Saturday that the Modern Quilt Guild gets to come and use the Grace building, and they use that space, but there are so many quilters who are not just piecers, they also long arm quilt. So a lot of those machines, the long arm machines, were also being, led by quilters. We have some ladies who actually even work in shops and run machines as well. But so many quilters I know in the guild and even out of the guild want opportunities to serve. And a lot of times you'll hear the story like a quilter will fill their house, and then they'll fill their kids' houses, and then grandkids and nieces and nephews, and eventually you're still making because you love it. And you're like, I need to give it to other people. And that's so wonderful to see, that you see these items, these beautiful items that take lots of money and lots of time, and they're being gifted.
How long have you been long arming?
Oh, maybe a couple of years, and I don't do it very often. My name is Linda, and I heard about this particular event through a friend. So I was super excited to be able to volunteer and come and do that. I would call myself a beginner machine quiltist, and it sounded like a good opportunity. I think it is so important to be able to share a talent of something I know how to do and I enjoy doing with others, but I also think that quilts are a comfort, and especially in a time of need. So I think being able to have a quilt that somebody put a little bit of effort into rather than just a purchased blanket, I think just gives that person, I hope, gives them a little bit of comfort.
And I hope that when someone receives a quilt that I happen to have done something on, or was made with blocks I sewed, or I got to long arm, or I bound, that they just know that love is in every stitch, that someone wanted them to feel safe and warm wrapped in this hug, because that's what I really think of a quilt. A quilt is a wrappable hug that can travel and can go with them wherever they go. And you know, it can be on the ground, it can be a protection as you sit, it can be wrapped around you, it can protect you from the sun. It has so many uses, and I know that when I make a quilt, I want it to be used and worn out and loved to bits and pieces, and then you get another one, hopefully down the road from someone else who loves you to send it, even if it means sending it across the world.
If you've lost everything in a fire, and maybe you had time to grab your important papers, or maybe you didn't, and they probably were in temporary housing. Maybe they were staying at a hotel, maybe they were staying with friends, figuring out what their next step is. What the fire victims now are doing is now they're finding their temporary permanent housing before they rebuild or figure out. So they're going into apartments with nothing personal, with nothing probably colorful. And what a quilt can do is just say, somebody made this for me and it's mine.
We just got a note from the LA fire chief. He hand wrote it, like I had to take a minute. He said, and thank you, because your quilts, seeing those go out to people and people's reactions to know that it's handmade, and it's different than giving them a case of water, he said, than giving them this handmade quilt. And people's reactions, he said, are just amazing. So people are so grateful. So I think they do recognize it.
And while the people who received the quilts, we thought that they would be grateful, what we've also didn't anticipate is how grateful people are to be able to give. So that's what these people are doing here at the Sewing Center, at long arming for us and making bindings for us is, hey, this is my way of using my talents and some of my time on a Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon to help somebody else. The mental health aspect of quilting and sewing. It's why I go up to my sewing room and put on a movie and sew for an hour and a half every day if I possibly can. It's invigorating and it helps you get through your life.
In November of 2023, I was diagnosed with a pretty aggressive form of breast cancer, and we had to do some pretty horrendous treatments, good treatments that are going to help in the long side of it. And it's been health-wise a journey, and being involved in Wrap the Worlds with Quilts is giving me something to focus on that's not cancer and not health, and it's just a therapeutic way of dealing with things.
Yep. It's how the old school ladies used to do it.
I'm still going through chemo now a year later, and still being treated, and it's just, again, having that, being involved with something where you have to look outside yourself has been super rewarding and super beneficial to me.
Quilters are givers. I've known that for a long time. I've had a few businesses in the quilting industry. I owned a quilt shop in California. Quilters are givers, and we knew that when we started this charity, and we thought we were going to collect 200 quilts and send them off to some Ukrainian refugees, and we're at 56,000, which is crazy. At 70 tons of quilts and probably about $30 million worth of gifts in kind. Yeah, it got quiet. Why it's quiet? Thank you.
All stopped at the same time.
Thank you, everybody, for spending your Saturday with us, for helping us finish these quilts for charity. We really appreciate it. And food's coming. There's drinks in the fridge. We post these pictures that we get back from people that have received quilts. We post on our social media. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Wrap the World with Quilts. And our website is wraptheworldwithquilts.com. But we post a couple times a day sometimes because we get these amazing pictures back of people receiving our quilts. We'd love to thank Grace Company for hosting this awesome event. It was brand new. We didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know if 2 people were going to show, but the machines have been busy all day long. And what a great way to bring community together to do some good for other people. So if you want to do it again, we're in.
Wow. I just love that story. That is so beautiful. Just what a wonderful way for Grace to live up to its name of Grace and partner with such wonderful organizations such as Wrap the World in Quilts. Anybody can be involved if you want to engage and help and partnership. Make sure you go to their website. I'm sure they can use your help. Personally, living in Los Angeles, it's so wonderful to know that other people are thinking about some of the victims from the fires and other catastrophic and just life-changing things for other people around the world. To wrap the people in hugs with their quilts is just amazing. So thank you for doing that. This has, I don't know about you guys, but for me, I feel like this has been one of the best Spring Fest festivals yet. I don't know. For me, it's been great. Just so many dynamic projects and a wide variety of projects, bags and quilts and pillows, and just not just one type of thing. There's so many things that we can do with our quilting in so many ways and tools, and if we just have our imagination, we can do anything. It's just so incredible. Well, we are here at the last live segment of day one, but there's still so much more before we wrap up. I am going to bring my good girlfriend, Allegra, on. Hello there. How are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
I am doing great. I'm just always so inspired, and I love when I get to learn all these new tips and things of making all of these projects. It's so fun.
Yes, but of course they gave us the segment that's going to pull at our heartstrings right before we have to be live, right? You know,
Exactly.
I'm like sitting here like, whew.
Exactly. I'm like this.
Yes.
So it's just been a great day, and I just want to remind people that there's more goodness going on outside of the live. Don't forget to go over and check out the quilts, right? Our theme today was the life of a quilt. So there's 6 different categories. Make sure you go to the platform and you check out the quilts in the show. I think the winners are going to be announced tomorrow. So you can kind of go in and pick your favorites. So there's still time to do that, and you can see just how the creativity continues.
Oh yeah, and don't forget to look at the community blocks too, because those are fun.
The community blocks. That's just yeah, it's so great. So yeah, there's more. We'll get back to that. I know we have a really cool giveaway, and I know we have some promotions, and then we can make some more announcement later, but I'm sure people want to hear what you're coming with today.
Yeah. So we're going to start off with a little bit about our Quilters Playground, actually. We've heard a little bit about it here and there, but what is it, guys? Let's learn. I bet a lot of you I wish Spring Fling was all the time. Guess what? It can be if you register for Quilters Playground. You get to enjoy videos like you've spent watching all day and get to join up on that. So how do you register? You're going to go to our website, and you're going to Education, and then that one in the middle, once you scroll down, it says Quilters Playground, online classes. That's what you want. Look at that. Gives you a nice, awesome description, several places to press so you can register. The Quilters Playground is an interactive online Zoom learning experience led by Carla Jerome, our Director of Education and quilting expert. These engaging sessions are designed to help you develop your quilting skills, explore new techniques, and get the most out of your favorite Grace Company products. And everyone who registers gets some special perks included too, but not limited to a $15 coupon, a birthday surprise, and one free in-person class. So I think that alone is enough to want to register and sign up.
Oh man, that is motivation. And it's helpful to kind of, I'm a visual learner, so to see that walkthrough of where exactly to find it, because the website is so robust, it's very helpful. It shows exactly how easy it is. So that's really cool.
It is. So the next one is going to be on April 9th. It's going to be Borders and Beyond. Borders are scary, so they're going to help you feel less overwhelmed and help you learn how to do those with designs, templates, and then some tips as well. So you'll learn how to fill your borders accurately, how to come up with design inspiration and free motion, and then you can use your registration marks to create seamless borders. So I don't know about you, but I struggle with borders and binding. Those are the ones that get me. So this would be a great class for me or any beginner quilter. I think these are really awesome, and you should definitely sign up for them.
And I think also for any intermediate advanced quilter too, because that's another way to kind of share the knowledge and share your tips.
Yes.
Most people struggle with binding. I have been quilting for, let's just say, for a very long time. It's been a couple decades. And every time, without fail, when I get to the binding, I go, oh yeah, how do I join the tails again? And so it's just something, you have to continually refresh yourself. So yes, everyone should go.
Oh yes, absolutely. Well, I think you have a couple more things to say before we jump into the giveaway, everyone's favorite thing.
Okay, yes, all right.
So I'll let you take the lead.
Okay, so I just want to give a few reminders if you came a little bit later, that if you miss anything from the live stream today, you can go back and watch the replays immediately. Today's live stream will be on YouTube and on the platform for you to go back and rewatch anything for as long as you need. And when you're ready, when you gather all your supplies and you're ready to go back and work on them, you can watch them on YouTube. Also, I know a few people are wondering where the instructions are or downloads. Many of the promos and the lessons today have handouts. So that's another great reason to register for the platform, because you can go and you can download those handouts there. I don't know, there may be a link on YouTube. I'm not really sure, but I know that you can get them.
Yeah, so there's not a link on YouTube, but they are on the event platform. So they just have to go to graceframe.com, events, and then the drop down will show Spring Fling, and then that's how they get to this. And you either need to log in or register if you haven't registered for one of our events before. And then once you go to the event schedule, you can click on each session, and if it did have something with it, it'll be right underneath that video.
Oh, perfect. I can't wait. I can't wait to get into that little ring bear pillow project.
Yes.
I don't know a soul who's getting married, but I'm just going to make one just in case.
Neither do I. I'm like, maybe a decoration pillow.
It's just a little decorative pillow. So I need the instructions for that. Speaking of platforms, there are many ways to follow and engage with Grace online. You can follow us on our many social media platforms. On Facebook, we're on Instagram at Grace Company Quilting. We're on TikTok at Grace Company. We're on YouTube, The Grace Company, and Pinterest, Grace Company Quilting. So make sure you like, share, subscribe, follow, and all of the good things so that you know when we're dropping things, when events are coming up, and tell all your quilty friends so they can be in on the fun as well. And then we are doing lots of cool promotions and giveaways today. When you get those amazing products, make sure you leave a review on the grace.com platform. Share the knowledge. Let people know how you like your product. It helps immensely when someone is trying to decide on what to use and what product might be best for what project or what have you. Reviews are very helpful. And then I'll also say scammers. Watch out for scammers. Scammers are everywhere. Unfortunately, we are just this is where we are, people. And you know them, but they are tricky. They are savvy. They will get into your DMs, they will get into your emails. Grace will never solicit you that way, and they will never ask you for information through social media. If it sounds too good to be true, chances are it probably is. But if you're really not sure and they're really, really good, you can always reach out to Grace and ask them if it is legitimate. And
yes, always ask if you're not sure, because we'd rather tell you yes or no than you get scammed.
Yes, and we don't want you mad and coming for us.
Right? Yes.
So we just don't do that. So those are just a couple things just to kind of remind some people. So that's pretty much what I had, and I know everyone is waiting. So we have a really cool giveaway at this last live.
Yes. So we'll tell you what it is, but we're not gonna announce the winner till the very end.
Okay.
But what it is one of our newest products, the Mini Quilter. And if you haven't seen it before, here it is. 1, I love the color. I can't get over it. It's perfect. 2, it's perfectly size and budget appropriate. If you're like me, you live in somewhere really small where I would have to get a folding table to have the cutie, and then also somewhere to put that folding table, then this is perfect. Or even if the cutie is a little above budget, Mini Quilter falls into an amazing category for you. We don't think quilting is an elite hobby. We think everyone should have access to it. So if that means making a smaller, space-saving and budget-friendly frame, that's what we're gonna do for you.
I love that. And I think it might be travel friendly too. If you,
could be.
It's like in your back seat or trunk if you're going on that extended vacation and or a retreat, a quilt retreat or whatever. That's really cool. You can take it with you. And I love that it is. I love what you said about it not being an exclusive. At one time, it was very hard to be able to afford to long arm. Now it's so with this wonderful invention of this tabletop mini quilter, you can use your domestic machine if you want, and basically any size quilt. There's no limitation. So it's really cool.
We love it.
Cool.
And if the Mini Quilter isn't what you guys are looking for, we have so many awesome sales and promotions that you guys have to stick around for, because they're gonna blow your mind, I think.
Oh, awesome. So do you want to talk about the promotions, or are we gonna have a chance? I'm asking you that because I see that little bingo.
Yes. See, the nice thing about being at the end of the day is I get a little bit of wiggle room. I just like to keep people on their seats first. So we're going to do some promotions. Then we're going to make everyone jog their memory for a quick bingo ball giveaway. And then we'll do our last one.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Perfect. Let's start with our machine and frame bundle, because I think that's probably one of the best sales we have going on right now. First thing you should know is that it's less expensive to buy a machine and a frame together than to buy them individually. You get an extra $150 off the frame bundles for these 3 frames: the Cutie, the Q-Zone Hoop, and the Q-Zone Queen. Now get this. Each of these frames come free with the purchase of your machine, plus an extra $150 off. That's a steal. The Cutie and the Q-Zone Hoop are great space-saving options if you don't have a lot of space. They work very similar to an embroidery hoop. We call them a hoop style frame. So you can make anything as big or as small as you want, but still on a small frame, which a lot of people think you can't do, but you can. The Q-Zone Queen is 8 feet, and that one is a 2-rail rolling system. So that's when we get into our rolling frame, where you are limited to the size on there. And you can put our Little Rebel, our 16-inch, and our 19-inch machines on these frames. So you have a lot to choose from.
That's awesome. That's great. And I love that if you get a machine, the frame. So if that bundle, you really want to take advantage of this bundle promotion.
Yes.
You save money. And as we mentioned earlier, that leaves a little bit in the budget for more fabric and thread.
Yes. Now, when we get up to the Evolution frames, the Hoop and the Elite, you get $200 off.
Ooh.
Now, the Evolution Hoop frame, that one comes free with the purchase of a 21. So still an incredible deal. You're still getting that better price with the bundle, but now we're looking at $200 off with the Evolution frames, which are a little bit more sturdy. They have metal ratchets. I would be confident standing on one of these if I needed to. They're fantastic
I actually
frames.
have.
Yes, I mean, I sit on them all the time at shows. I mean, they can hold a lot of weight, which is really nice because one, super sturdy.
Yes, very.
And it's also nice if you've got kids, pets, grandkids, you know that if anyone's messing around on there, it's really not going to go anywhere, which is nice too.
Yes, I love that. And I love the height. For me, because I'm tall, I'm 5'9". And so I love how you can raise it or lower it and you can set it to your height. And so I'm not like quilting like this, it's great. And then I can stand on it when I'm trying to like hang the quilt next to it or something like that. They're great. I love it. The ratchets are like a game changer of rolling and the extra bars, like the take-up bars is really nice for the backing and the batting and the quilt top. It's just it's my favorite frame. I love it.
Yes. So stop on our website, take a look at those bundle prices, because not one frame belongs to one machine. You can mix and match almost all of our machines and frames. So no matter your budget or space you have available, we can make it work for you.
And they can also check out their local dealer as well for these and get these same.
You absolutely can.
Right? Awesome. Yeah, so if you contact your local dealer, and even if they don't have it in shop, like on their showroom floor, they can still order it for you. That's what happened. I went to my local dealer and he didn't have any, but he said, "Oh no, but we can order it for you." And it came so quickly. They brought it, they set it up in my sewing room. Sometimes it's nice if you set it up yourself, but I was thankful because my sewing room was on the second floor. So so they brought it up.
Man.
They did everything and it's been wonderful.
That's awesome. We also have some accessories on sale as well. Let's start with our light bars. These are fantastic. Now, they use True Color technology, which, you think, okay, well, whatever. I took one home the other day and I learned my carpet is a color I never knew it was before. I live in an old 70s condo that's never been renovated, so we still have yellow lighting in there. I did not know this rug I had some bright green in there.
Wow.
So these are great. They roll around, they're height adjustable. You can get the 5, 10, or the 10 with the 2 to make it a 12-foot extension. And then they are amazing. 1, super bright, but 2, they don't get hot to work under. I can reach up and touch the light. So you can be under there for a long time without heating up. Genuinely, the amount of colors you can see is just the clearest picture you've ever seen in your life. When we turn them off at shows, when we're at quilt shows, if we turn them off too early, people around us actually think the show's closing and they'll start to turn their lights off. Let me tell you, these lights are amazing, and this is a great time to take advantage of this sale.
Love them. Love mine. Love it. I can't say enough about it. I love it. And
really
now
can't. Easy to put together.
Considering getting another one for my cutting table.
Yes, I always think about getting one to put over my desk for my makeup, because if it's color correct, I never have to worry about my foundation not matching when I walk out of the house.
That's a good way. That's a good and creative look. It's light. So yes, it's creative for quilting and crafting, but look, maybe you have other types of workspaces or garages or tool. I don't know. Maybe your spouse or partner will want one too. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah. All right, let's see if I missed any other promotions. I think we have one more I haven't talked about yet. Free shipping, I did forget. Free shipping on orders over $100 now through April 17th. And if you're getting that machine and frame bundle, this is really a good time to take advantage of this free shipping because those things are heavy and it can add up sometimes.
Absolutely. Gonna definitely take advantage of that. That's a good, that's a saving in and of itself, especially if it's a larger item.
Yeah, so rewatch Spring Fling, make a wish list, make sure to check out before the 17th, all that stuff. I think it's time for a bingo giveaway. I think I was supposed to leave that there. Nice. So my question is, for those who are paying attention, when is the next Quilters Playground? I mentioned a date earlier.
Ooh, you sure did. All right, we're going to pick 3 winners from all 3 of the platforms, one from Facebook, one from YouTube, and one from Grace, but it will be random selections.
Yes.
So go back in your mind and think about what we said the next playground date is on. They're probably like Googling it.
They're like, I gotta look at the website. Oh my gosh.
Look at the website. I know they said that. So while they're thinking about it, I will just say that I am really excited about this because when I was first transitioning from domestic to long arm, I knew that Grace was there and there were lots of kind of YouTube tutorials and things, but to have that real time in person when someone can say, oh, that's your tension in your bobbin, you're like, oh.
Oh yeah.
So it's really cool. So, all right, I think we have some answers.
Okay.
All right. Do we have a winner from Facebook? Let's see. Oh, we have to. Are we gonna?
I think we're gonna roll it first. So.
Okay, so we'll see. Okay, I'm
we
excited.
rolled
I'm sorry,
a yellow one, 2 yellows in a row. That's a sign. And let's see our 3 winners. I don't know what yellow corresponds with though. Do you?
I believe yellow corresponds with the True Sharp Power Sharpener.
What? Oh, that's a great giveaway.
Yeah. Okay, so oh, there it is. You want to talk about that?
Yes, absolutely. So this is our electric sharpener. It's cord, not battery operated. It can sharpen 28, 45, and 60 millimeter blades. It doesn't do great with titanium, so keep that in mind. And then if you look at the center of the blade in that picture, you notice how it's not just a donut hole. If it's just a donut hole, unfortunately, the sharpener won't be able to grab it to spin it around. So keep that in mind, but you also get tweezers, sharpening oil, and a cleaning cloth. And there's diamond grit stones in there, so you'll never have to change those stones out.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. Think of all the money you'll save on replacement blades, because those blades
yes.
are... Okay, so our first winner from Facebook is... Alicia.
Congratulations, Alicia.
Congratulations, Alicia. How fun. That's amazing. All right. And do we have a winner from YouTube who's watching from YouTube today? Stephanie.
Congratulations, Stephanie. You're going to love it. I know you are.
Absolutely. Okay. And from our Grace platform, who got it right and got picked? Congratulations.
Congratulations. I'm so excited.
Allegra, how do they collect their gifts?
Oh, you're going to email me. I'm Allegra. This is my email down at the bottom of the screen. Email me if you are a bingo winner, because I have no way of knowing what your contact information is. So please reach out, let me know what you won, and give me your name as well so I can make sure to match that with our notes. And if you're a pre-registered giveaway winner, I'll reach out to you.
There you go.
Which reminds me.
Amazing. Yes, what? So
I think it's time.
I think it is.
Yes. So just as a reminder, this is our final pre-registered giveaway of day 1 for Spring Fling, and it is the Mini Quilter, our new mini quilting frame. Only about, I think it's like 32 by 24, so very small. Holds a 7-inch to 13-inch throat. Works very similar to the Cutie frame, just a lot smaller footprint, and very light. So like Kena said, if you want to take it to your quilt guild, super easy to carry and take in your back seat. So let's get another drum roll for our pre-reg winner.
All right. And the winner is...
Congratulations, Dina. You are gonna love it. And you're gonna have so much fun with it. And I can't wait to help you step into your free motion quilting journey.
That is amazing. Oh, can you imagine like just being home and you're like, I think that said my name just now.
Yes. I'll be like, me?
Me?
A prize?
Oh, I won. I hope Dina's watching live and she's like, oh my gosh.
I hope so too. I love seeing the live reactions when they're watching when they win.
Oh, it's just so amazing. Well, this has been a really wonderful day 1. Day 2 promises to be even better. There are more exciting segments and demos and giveaways, and of course, the giveaway, the big kahuna is so we hope that you all will return. It's been a pleasure being here today. Again, I'm Kena, and I love hosting these events. And if I love being a part of the Grace Ambassador program, and I
love working with you.
Oh, it's so wonderful. Thank you, Allegra. And you can catch me on Instagram and also Facebook at Kena Quilts. And you can also catch me here. And we will be back tomorrow with more good stuff. And so just stay tuned. Go get some rest and come back tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, everybody.
Bye. Have a great day.
You too. We'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.